Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. I double-check to make sure the damn rhino is really gone this time. Drop to the ground, head right to Stacy's tree, climb up into the lower branches and shout, "Hey Stacy, can you hear me?" But she doesn't answer. Damn. Now I'm going to have to climb up and somehow bring her down out of the tree without hurting her more. I slowly climb and begin to question where the hell the lions and rhino came from. I'm partway up the tree. Damn, she really could climb like a monkey. And try to wrap my head around what's happened in the last 24 hours. I didn't kill a scumsucker that I knew needed to be killed. He took advantage of Stacy's innocence and escaped with her weapons. Damn, I'm going to miss that M4. And her keys for the bunker. Now we can't be sure we're safe there. But the craziest things to happen are the lions and the rhino. Then it hits me. We're in Texas. There are private game reserves in Texas for hunting African animals without going to Africa, so they must have escaped from one of those. I wonder what the hell kind of animals we will next need to watch out for. Oh shit. I just remember one of the major problems in Texas and realize how lucky we were last night by sleeping out in the open. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Mean Miss Gulch, she looks remarkably like Ben's bitchy ex-fiancée. Takes Patches my dog away in her basket, and I'm heartbroken because Grandmama doesn't stop her. So I run away from home, catch Mean Miss Gulch, kick her butt, and rescue Patches. I take Patches with me when I notice a big tornado coming. Patches and I run back to our farmhouse where I look all over for my grandmama. I can't find her, so I hide in the house as the tornado picks up the house. I become really sick from the way it spins as it is picked up by the winds. When it crashes to the ground really hard, I look outside and exclaim, "Patches, I don't think we're in Texas anymore." I step out of the house, hear a bunch of giggling, look down at my ugly and old-as-hell dress, then it hits me, and I yell, "I'm not fracking Dorothy Gale, and this certainly isn't Ozzy." Glinda the Good Witch floats down and explains, "Don't be silly. You're Stacy, and this is the land of ODD." I'm speechless as she waves her wand. There's a poof, and the next thing I know I'm wearing Ruby, what the frack, running shoes. I can't fracking believe it and question, if this is ODD and not Ozzy, what's so fracking odd about this place anyway? Before Glinda can answer, I see her. And this time I'm sure it's Ben's bitchy ex-fiancée, because she flies in on a broom. I recognize her immediately as the Wicked Witch of the West. She fittingly cackles, "I'll get you my pretty, and I'll take your little dog too." I flip her off and challenge, "Oh yeah, bitch, there's no way in hell you're going to catch me." And I begin running down the purple brick, what the frack, road. I don't know what the hell it is about these shoes, but I can run like the wind. Which is a good thing, since I hear a noise behind me, glance over my shoulder, and see a ferocious lion, what the frack, chasing me. I run through a forest of friendly living apple trees who see the lion chasing me and begin throwing their apples at it. One hits the lion square in the face, and it falls to the ground. I slow down and finally realize what's odd about this place. It's all backwards and confused. As I am catching my breath, I look down at Patches and say, "This is one messed up place." She whinnies. Since when do dogs whinny? I try to remember the movie from my childhood to the best of my ability, so I can be prepared for what's coming next. But I can't believe it when a tin rhinoceros charges out the woods. It takes one look at me and Patches, paws the ground, and starts to chase us. We are running like crazy again, but the tin rhino is really fast and is gaining on us. Just before it gets close enough to kill us, it begins to rain. The rhino begins to slow as it rusts, and finally it's frozen in place. I turn around, run back, and kick it over. Then I giggle because this might be the first time anyone has done rhino tipping instead of cow tipping. We continue walking down the purple brick road. I look at Patches and review. Okay, let's see. We've had a ferocious lion, a tin rhino. I wonder what's next? I should have known better to ask, because as we pass a cornfield, the scarecrow jumps out and chants, "Lions and rhinos and me." Oh my. Fracking son of a bitch. The scarecrow is the scumsucker guy. I'm pissed as hell and threaten, "Oh yeah? How about a little fire, scarecrow?" I pull a Bic lighter out of my pocket and flick my Bic on the guy scarecrow. As he burns and screams in anguish, I yell, "That's right, scumsucker. This is just a little taste of what hell's going to be like for you." I become really scared when I see the flying monkeys. I can remember how frightened I was of them when I was a little girl, but I'm too frightened to run. They land and warn me, "Quick, Stacy, the Wicked Witch of the West is coming." I realize that they're good this time, not bad, and get ready to run when the Wicked Witch of the West flies in and says, "But you forgot about me, my pretty." I think for a moment and decide that if water killed her in the movie, and if this land of ODD is all backwards, then, yes. I grab a piece of the flaming guy scarecrow, throw it at her, and surprisingly enough it works. She starts to burn and cackles. You cursed brat. Look what you've done. I'm burning. Burning. Oh, what a world. What a world. Who would have thought a good little girl like you could destroy my beautiful wickedness? Ooh, look out. I'm going. Ooh. Ooh. I look at the flying monkeys and ask, how do I get out of here? They tell me, you need to go to the quartzite city and see the all-powerful wizard of ODD. I curtsy and ask, well, since you can fly, and since I know you can carry me, would you fly me in patches to the quartzite city? They agree, and we're at the city gate in no time flat. I knock on the door, a little window opens and Ben grumbles, what do you want? I ask politely, I want to see the wonderful wizard of ODD. He gives me a dirty look and complains, go away, you look like a 304. I reply, oh yeah? Well, I've just defeated a ferocious lion, a tin rhino, a guy scarecrow, and your ex-fiancée, the Wicked Witch of the West. So now I'm going to kick your butt for that last comment. I click the heels together on the ruby running shoes, and they blow down the fracking door. I get ready to kick his, but when I hear, Stacy, are you okay? I yell, if you ever call me a 304 again, I'm going to kick your butt. I look around, realize I'm not in the land of ODD, but still in the tree, and I hug the hell out of Ben. Present. Ben, travel back to the bunker. Shit. She's still pissed about that remark, and I feel bad as hell about it. That statement and not killing guy probably triggered this whole incident. She hugs me. I return the hug and apologize. Stacy, I'm sorry about that comment, and I'm even sorrier I didn't kill guy when I first saw him. She cries on my shoulder and says, and Ben, I'm sorry because I thought I could use guy to make you jealous. I should have never trusted him or set him free. This hug has gone on more than I'm comfortable with, so I break it off and question, well, can you climb down out of the tree? She moves slowly and answers, well, I'm really sore, but I think getting out of this tree will help. I say, well, let me reload the rifle first. I remove my pack and hang it on a branch, grab the Winchester, find the ammo in my go pack, and slip the cartridges into the load ramp. I hand the rifle back to Stacy, put the pack back on, take the rifle, and we begin to climb down the tree. As we near the ground, Stacy says, Ben, look. I turn to look and can't believe it. Now these could be big problems. Present. Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I freak out when I look down because at first I thought it was a group of flying monkeys. Then I realize they are gorillas. I point them out to Ben and question, Ben, where did all these circus animals come from? Ben whispers, Stacy, for right now we need to stay still and not make any sudden moves. I thought there was a game preserve which might have the lions and rhino, but with the gorillas now I'm not sure. The only possible answer that would make sense is they escaped from a circus or zoo. We watch as they find the dead lion that was chasing me. They get very excited, begin to make a bunch of noise and throw things at it. Finally, the largest one goes over and starts beating the lion with a big stick and begins howling. Then the rest of the troop join in. They stop howling and take off running when the rhino charges out of the woods. It still has some of Ben's camouflage suit on its head and chases them. Ben says, well, we were sure lucky we weren't on the ground right now. This place is the circus from hell, and the sooner we get the hell out of here the better. He begins to whistle, and I question, aren't you worried we will attract the rhino again? He answers, I think the gorillas will keep him busy for a while, so it's a calculated risk we need to take to get the hell out of here and return to the bunker. He then continues to whistle. Present. Ben, travel back to the bunker. Yeah, my first assumption, which would have been better for us, is wrong. The gorillas proved that. They are either circus or zoo animals. I'm hoping circus because there are fewer deadly animals in a circus than in a zoo. But we need to be alert because we could run into any number of big cats. Shit, the gorillas are real problems themselves because they can easily rip the hell out of a man. I begin to whistle for Bo, but after the way he ran off, I'm not sure I will ever see him again. Still, the sooner we get out of here, the better. I try to recall, but can't remember any accounts of people shooting gorillas or what caliber of weapon they used. I'm not at all sure one shot, even a well-placed shot, from the Winchester would take one down. This hasn't happened often, but I'm now woefully underarmed. I look at the busted 300 Win mag on the ground and decide I need to see if I can make it serviceable again. And I need to recover the revolver Stacy dropped. I look at Stacy, hand her the rifle and say, Stacy, stay in the tree and cover me. I'm going to go pick up your revolver and my broken rifle. She questions, Ben, do you think this is wise? I grimace and answer, it's necessary because we need more and a better weapons. Besides, it's the lesser of two evils. I double-check to make sure my revolver is ready. Drop to the ground as she needlessly reminds me. Well, don't forget that still makes this an evil. I want to tease her that being a woman, she should know about evil, but decide since we're once again on relatively friendly terms, I would be better off to avoid being a wise ass. But I do fondly remember the one woman that was never evil to me. ISLLS to make sure the menagerie of animals are gone. Run over to the broken rifle and grab both pieces of it. I return to the tree and tell Stacy, stand watch. I'm going to stay on the ground while I try to fix this rifle. I examine the once beautiful rifle and shake my head. I really screwed it up. The stock is broken in two at the wrist. I put the butt piece back on and see it fits pretty well, but I wish I had some sort of glue. I smile when I notice the pine tree. I pull my knife. This time I remember where it is on this quick draw rig and cut the hell out of the bark. Stacy asks, Ben, what the hell are you doing? I answer, present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Ben's acting a little strange. He takes his knife and cuts a bunch of bark off the tree I'm on, so I ask him about it. And he answers, Stacy, I'm going to use the pine pitch as a glue to help hold things together. Then I watch as he takes this little cloth bundle from his pack, unrolls it, and it reveals a cute little tool set. I ask him, what are those? Ben glances at me and reminds me, Stacy, make sure to keep SLLSing. These are my Borka tools. They are indispensable for working on firearms since I have a socket for all the sizes I require, screwdriver bits for everything I need, plus it's an accurate as hell torque wrench. That arouses my curiosity, so I ask, what do you need a torque wrench for on a gun? He uses his tool to take the metal part of the rifle out of the wood part and says, make sure you keep up your SA, and it's a weapon, not a gun. Just like when you work on an engine, there's a torque setting for all the fasteners on a weapon. With what I know about cars and engines, this makes perfect sense to me. Ben continues working on the wood part of the rifle and expounds. Most people incorrectly assume you need to crank the hell out of all the fasteners on a weapon, and they end up causing other problems. I ask for clarification, what sort of problems? Ben takes some of the sap from the tree, puts it on the wood parts of the weapon, and presses them together. He smears more of it on the top of the wood, then takes some tiny rope and begins to wrap it very tightly around the wood part over the sap. He answers, well, of course you can break or strip the fasteners, but the biggest problem is reduced accuracy, especially if you take parts off the rifle and replace them. He finishes wrapping the rope around the wood part of the rifle, then takes a bunch of duct tape and begins to wrap over the rope. It looks really bad, so I have to say, Ben, that looks really ugly and dangerous. Ben looks at me and scolds. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. I'm pretty damn happy with my field repair on the stock. But Stacy has been a repeato with all her questions, and I know she's not SLLSing worth a damn. So I'm forced once again to pick up the slack. I finally get tired of it. Besides with the stock repaired, I will still need to test fire it using something besides my shoulder to back the stock. I need to put the action back in the stock and turn my attention to the scope because it looks foobarred. I remind Stacy, you really need to concentrate on SLLSing, not what I'm doing. I'm happy when she stops bothering the hell out of me. I get the action back in the stock and torque it to a standard setting, which on action screws is always a problem because every manufacturer has their own settings they want to use, which range between 10 nlbs to 65 nlbs. But I'm more concerned with having the same torque on both screws, so I choose 30 nlbs and use that. I begin to look at the scope and I hear Stacy stutter. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Ben is right, I do need to SLLS better. I start doing my job when I see this snake coming up to the tree and I'm frozen with fear. I really hate snakes and about died when Ben shot the rattlesnake and then wanted to eat it. But it was dead and this one's alive, which is much scarier. I finally managed to get out, SN snake. Ben's up like a flash and yells, where? I point to the ground behind the tree. He looks around the side of the tree and says, shit. If Ben doesn't like the snake, then it must be really bad. Now I'm really scared. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Stacy doesn't realize it, but she probably just saved my life. The minute I saw the snake, I recognized it as highly aggressive and the second most dangerous snake in the world, the eastern brown snake from Australia. It notices me peek around the tree, raises its neck in the typical S fashion, and moves toward me. I draw my revolver and blow it to hell, right before Stacy falls out of the tree and lands in front of it. Shit, what's wrong with her now? I run over to her and try to wake her. She finally wakes up, hugs me, and yells, snake. I tell her, don't worry, it's dead and lying right beside you. She turns her head, sees the snake, and passes out again. I pick her up to move her away from the snake when something crashes through the bushes behind me. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. When I woke up, it was hot as hell, and the inside of my GAZ smelled like shit. We needed to find someplace to wash the stench off us. It was so bad my eyes watered. I rolled down the window and decided I would send a report to the major. I had really hoped destroying everything on our mission list would lead to him finally pull us out of this desert and send us to Russia. I hadn't counted on the scumsucker pulling a quick one on us when he determined a way to use the destruction to his advantage. That's the thing about officers. They're slippery as hell scumsuckers. But it would be a cold day in hell that one could outthink me. I wrote a new message and grinned as I sent it off and waited for the Fragos. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. The SGTS weren't totally unpredictable. I figured that after the storm they needed to take care of some things, then we would hear from them. But I was antsy as hell because we really needed them to get there, but over to the new target and verify what we think we saw. This site was way more than justification for a war. This was a concrete provocation. The report came in, but I didn't bother to look at it because I already knew they destroyed the underground hangar. I skipped to the bottom, and it read 10-7. What the hell? They were out of service? I composed a new message with the new target and sent it. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Ben chuckled and woke me up. Wow. The inside of the Jeep smelled like hell. I quickly rolled down the window, stuck my head outside to keep from puking, and sucked in the hot and damn dry desert air. At least it was some better than the perfume from the Jeep. Once I was sure I could stand it, I brought my head back inside and complained, "Damn, Ben, you need a bath." He countered, "Jack, most of that smell is you. You're sweating all the vodka out of your system from last night. This is a good thing because the way you stink, if we had to go it on foot, every nose within a click would target you immediately." I sniffed my clothes cautiously. Damn, I hate it when Ben was right. Then I questioned, "Well, is there an oasis or watering hole somewhere close where I can wash up?" Ben laughed. "Yeah, there's one close, but the way you smell, you'll pollute the hell out of it." I noticed Ben had the computer out and asked, "What's going on?" He looked at me and grinned. Negotiations. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. I was pissed as hell and replied back, "Well then get the hell in service. We need observation only on this target. Repeat, observation only because of possible radioactive danger." Damn, that Sergeant Blaine was giving me shit again, just when I thought we were working well together. This was the worst possible time for them to pull this shit, and all this messaging was way out of protocol. The two-word reply came in, "Too hot." I composed a reply and questioned, "Your vehicle?" "Proceed to target on foot." Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Ben was doing a bunch of messaging. More than protocol said we should, so I questioned, "Aren't you worried we will be discovered?" He said, "Just a little. But with the underground hangar being gone, I haven't seen or heard an aircraft since I woke up. I figure if they do get lucky and triangulate on us, they will have to send something from a hell of a distance away, and we will be gone by then." I continued, "So what's going on with the Major?" He grinned. "He has his panties in a bunch over something new they discovered, and they want us to just observe it because it might be a nuke." I smiled. "Sounds to me like we have him over a barrel. So what are your plans?" He grinned and said, "Wait. I need to reply to his last message." Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. The reply came back and I swore out loud. What the hell? They are too hot and need a vacation someplace where it's cold. I knew exactly what Sergeant Blaine was telling me. He was still pissed about not going to Russia. I hadn't counted on his deep attachment to a Russian assignment. I know I'd never been there, but really wanted to go. But damn it, I needed them on this mission ASAP. Somehow he figured that out and was negotiating. I asked my text, "Any sign that the location of the team has been compromised?" My text came back, "There's a 90% chance when you send this reply they will have a triangulation." I composed the message with a warning and sent it. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Ben looked at the message, then smiled and said, "Jack, we need to get the hell out of Dodge." I questioned, "Well, are you going to tell me what it said?" He jumped out of the Jeep and yelled, "Yo, once we're moving. Now help me get the camo net off her, because we need to move it." I jumped out, helped with the net, and jumped back in. Ben grinned at me, turned on the radio, which hadn't worked before, reached down, pressed the play button on his music player, and I heard, "We're just good old boys." He started the Jeep, floored it, and we both sang along to the theme song from Dukes of Hazzard. After we went a short distance, I reached over, turned down the volume, and asked, "Well, what the hell is going on with the Major?" Ben answered, "The Major and I have come to an agreement. If we take this mission and continue working for a short while longer, then he will pull us out, and we get to go to Russia." I was excited as hell about Russia. Actually, I was excited as hell about anywhere, but here, because I was pretty damn sure what was coming. And I didn't want to be here when that shitstorm came down, at least not on this side of the lines. But I worried and asked, "So how long is this short while going to be?" Ben jumped another ravine, grinned at me, and explained, "If what I think we're going to find, we indeed find, then our remaining desert tour is going to be really short. But first we're taking a short break to get cleaned up." I rubbed my hands together. A bath, clean clothes, and then Russia soon. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. I no sooner got my SGTS, working on this critical mission again, when a tech comes in my office and said, "Sir, we have an issue." I jumped up and demanded, "What the hell is going on now?" He answered, "Sir, I think we might have made a mistake." I walk into the main CNC room, look at the satellite feed, and again swore. Then I ordered, "See if you can contact the SGTS to abort the mission." Damn it. This might be enough to push Sergeant Blaine over the edge, and then he might try to pull a Mr. Smith on me. It would be a shame to have to kill him. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I was swimming in the little bit of warm water and luxuriating in the feeling of finally getting all the crap off me. My clothes dried on the Jeep, which was hidden under the camo net close to the little oasis, and Ben was standing watch up on a sand dune above me. The scumsucker made me do the same while he was first into the pool, because he explained he didn't want sloppy seconds. That was okay with me, because it gave me more time to relax and I planned on using every second. I was wrinkled as hell because I'd been in for so long, but I didn't care. I even used some soap despite what Ben told me. He was a little bit of an environmental nut sometimes, but I chalked it up to living in the Rocky Mountains as a kid. I saw Ben flying down the sand dune and I jumped out of the water and started drying in a hurry. Ben ran up and I asked, "What the hell is wrong?" Ben said, "There's some sort of caravan headed this way, and I don't think it would be wise for us to be found here." Then he sniffed and complained, "Jack, don't tell me you use soap." I got into my dried clothes, grinned at him, and answered, "Okay, I won't tell you that." He whined, "Damn it, that's going to screw up the water, piss off anyone else that uses it, and besides now you smell like a French brothel." We climbed in the Jeep and I countered, "And just how many French brothels have you been in?" We sped off and Ben answered, "Well, none." I answered, "Well, having been in more than one myself, I can say that I don't smell nearly as bad as any of the ones I was ever in. I think they only took a bath once a week and just splashed on more perfume each day." Ben reached over, turned on his music player, and the speakers belted out the theme from Peter Gunn. Since I love that song, I reached over and cranked the volume. We were headed toward another ravine. This one was large as hell, and I was worried. Ben downshifted, punched the hell out of the Jeep, and the engine sounded like 100 angry hornets as I was pressed back in the seat. He must have topped out the revs, snapped an upshift, and I swear the tires chirped. It reminded me of a movie, so I quoted, "Our Lady of Blessed Acceleration, don't fail us now." We easily cleared the ravine. The Jeep once again landed softly, and Ben, who picked up on my quote, added, "Jack, we're on a mission from God." I scolded, "Yeah, we may be on a mission from God, but it doesn't do any good to tempt the old man upstairs and piss him off. So don't do that again." He grinned and said, "Jack, don't worry. She's running better than ever from the vodka. I think it cleaned out her pipes." I only wished we had more. I reminded him, "Well, if you break her, don't complain to me about it." My psychology worked because he slowed up some and answered, "Yeah, you're right, I would really hate to break her." I checked the map, tried to estimate our average speed, and told Ben, "We should be close to the target in about an hour at this speed." Flashback, Mira and Ira, undisclosed location. This desert was irksome. This mission was excruciatingly irksome. Watching the RG go about their menial tasks was even more irksome. Even my sister Ira had become irksome with her constant scolding about maintaining my mental capacity on the mission. Continuing observation for the Harlequins certainly did not merit increased cranial activity since their techniques were uncouth, and we would be alerted to their presence long before they arrived. I longed for the exhilaration of the American Spy School and the added excitement of being close to my paramour sergeant. I could still olfactorate his musky and sexy scent. I could envision his smiling face and recalled the way his eyes sparkled as he conversed with me. I even missed my paramour's faithful sidekick, Stinky Sergeant Reynolds. Combined, they were like Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, gallantly jousting the windmill of spy school administration. However, I do not miss malodorous Major M. I cogitated on the devious ways in which I would inflict bodily harm on his person for separating me from my paramour. Tedium overtook my thoughts, and I delineated ventricular pumping units in the sand with our initials in them, BB plus MS. Then I terminated them and repeated the act. Why didn't these Harlequins arrive as predicted so we could leave this irksome and barren desert? My sister Mira was Dory of Hunky while the mission was active, but now during the critical time of waiting, she was odiously carked. I even observed her delineating ventricular pumping units in the sand like a silly female schoolgirl. I brooded on my preferred response and decided that for now, since we were not in imminent danger or any perceived danger at all, I would let her have her mental vacations and hope they would lessen as the time expanded that she was separated from her vile seducer. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. If I didn't like what I first saw on the satellite feeds, and I liked what I watched happening now even less. I asked in hope, "Any word from the SGTS?" My text replied and reminded me, "No, sir. And if they follow previous pattern, we won't hear from them until after this mission." Damn, this was one aspect of the mission which I couldn't control. Unfortunately, we couldn't be in permanent contact with the SGTS, and now when I needed to tell them something, there was no way to contact them. I continued to watch and hope like hell the SGTS lived through this. and I hoped even more Sergeant Blaine wasn't so pissed that I became his next target. My phone rang, and it was the general. Shit. How was I going to explain this to him? Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Ben slowed, it was a relative term, slipped the Jeep sideways into one of the many ravines, backed up against the bank, and shut off the engine. I looked at him and asked, what the hell's going on? He gave me a serious look and said, Jack, it's just not right. I questioned, what do you mean? According to the major, this was a newly uncovered site, and there was no military around. Ben clarified, no, not that. I mean, if it really is a Russian SS-25, Sickle is a mobile intercontinental ballistic missile designed in the Soviet Union and in service with Russia's strategic rocket forces, then we can't just take pictures of it. It needs to be destroyed, especially if it's a fully functional launch vehicle. I questioned, Ben, how the hell could it be a fully functional launch vehicle? You know how big those are. All we saw was a small portion of the nose. He gave me a look that told me he'd made up his mind and stated, and Jack, who the hell would have thought we would find an underground hangar or half the crap we've already found out here? Even if it's just an SS-25 warhead, that's still enough of a weapon that we have to destroy it. I hated it, but again, Ben was right. However, I needed an answer to the $64 million question. Well, let's say it is just a warhead. How do you plan on destroying it without exposing us to the radiation? Because I sure as hell don't know about you, but I might want to have a kid someday, and if I do have a kid, I don't want it born with 3 arms or something even worse. He shook his head. That's one question I don't have an answer for. Now come on, let's approach this one on foot. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I didn't like something, but I wasn't sure what, so I didn't fully inform Jack. The more I thought about this possibly being a nuclear warhead, or more, the less I liked it. Nuclear weapons in the hands of crazy scumsuckers were never a good mix. But this crazy scumsucker was a cagey fox, and I was sure he had this as an insurance policy, sort of a doomsday weapon just in case. That's why it was out here in no man's land without anyone guarding it. But Jack was right. How the hell could we destroy it without frying ourselves? I parked the GAZ a good distance away. We grabbed our weapons and newly cleaned ghillie suits and slipped toward the target. I complained, damn Jack, did you wash that ghillie suit with soap? He answered, flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Ben was ragged about something and griped again about my smell. I replied, hell no I didn't. I know better than that. He said, well, it doesn't matter because we're downwind of the site. But do you smell what I smell? I sniffed, but all I could smell was the soap I used. There was no way I was going to admit that to Ben, so I lied, hell no. I think I'm still a little sick. Ben whispered, I smell diesel exhaust, and for a site that's not supposed to have personnel. I finished, there shouldn't be any diesel smell. But after he mentioned it, I could even smell it. We carefully crawled to the top of a dune, used our periscopes to peek over without exposing ourselves, and Ben said, shit Jack. Inactive site my butt. This place is crawling with troops. I asked hopefully, so we are taking pictures for the major and getting the hell out of here? Ben answered, Jack, look closer at what's going on down there and tell me what you see. I looked and knew Ben was right. I cursed, damn. I can't believe the major told us this was an inactive site. Ben answered, well Jack, that was probably our screw up. If we hadn't stopped at the oasis, then we might have arrived before the RG. As we continued the observation, I commented, I do think we need some pictures of this. I crawled higher and took a crapload of shots. I crawled back down by Ben and said, I think I have a plan on how to safely blow this scumsucker, but you're not going to like it. I told him my plan. He glared at me for a few seconds and said, you're damn right I don't like it. I was worried until he added, I love it. We headed back to the Jeep. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. I watched the satellite feed and questioned, what the hell was that? Give me the last 3 minutes on a separate screen. I couldn't believe it. Flashback, Mira, undisclosed location. I was delivered from my boredom as something finally happened. Present, Tom, C-130 landed at DI. As I drank my cup of coffee, Maria made some damn good coffee, so perhaps I might keep her around to do just that. I do some thinking, make a phone call, talk to one of the SIF's doctors, grab Linus as he leaves to recover Jennifer and modify his orders. He smiles at me and says, thanks Tom, those changes should make this mission easier. I answer, sorry I didn't think of this at first. By the way, Maria makes a hell of a cup of coffee. Linus glares at me and states, Tom, she'd make a hell of a real asset for our team. I grin and reply, well, making coffee is a real asset, especially when it's this good. He shakes his head as he leaves. Byron looks at me and smiles, very nicely played. I reply, yeah, we need to stop making so many waves and now's the time to work on Linus, but not too much. I watch as James and the crew wheel Hammer and Todd toward waiting ambulances and continue. Let's go and give the guys some moral support. We walk over to Todd first and I say, my friend, Get well soon because we miss you on the team. He signs, thanks Tom. Sorry for getting hurt. I complain. Yeah, if you guys would have followed my orders, then none of this would have happened. He counters, but then you would be dead. I nodded, yeah, that's right. But you, Hammer and Byron wouldn't have been hurt. Now it was time to talk to Hammer if I could understand him and his damned Scottish accent. Present, Byron, C-130 landed at DI. Tom's conversation with Todd confirms my suspicion, and I need to have a serious conversation with him. But not now since we need to speak with Hammer first. I squeeze Todd's hand, and he signs to me. I nod, letting him know I had the situation under control, and follow Tom, who was already talking to Hammer. I walk up as Tom asks, so do you need anything? How about a clean skirt? Hammer shoots back, if I was well does I would kick your arse. If I was well enough I would kick your butt. Tom laughs. Well then, get well enough soon. Because I never did get a rematch for the time you got lucky and knocked me out. Hammer laughs and corrects Tom, Jammy ma jaxie. That was skill and superior training. Lucky my, but that was skill and superior training. They will Hammer away and I absent-mindedly state, Tom, you would have made an excellent officer. He glares at me and coldly replies, Byron, you can kiss my butt. Then he storms off as I think. He's acting more like an officer all the time. But this time I was wise enough to keep my thoughts to myself. I need to let him calm down some. Then I need to deal with what Todd and I discussed. Present, Linus, mission to recover Jens. I finish removing the rest of my tactical gear, look over at the doctor Tom added to our team, and start. I'm glad Tom sent you with us. He answers, yeah, we should be able to get Jennifer Donaldson out in no time at all. I am concerned for Jens because she is like my little sister, so I continue. So what the hell is going on with her anyway? He asked for clarification, you want my feelings, or do you want my professional opinion? This was really interesting, so I ask, are they that different? If so, I'd like to hear them both. He states, well, professionally, I would have to say she is having some issues with reality, but not to the extent maintained by the bitch who committed her to the hospital. It was good to see he felt the same way about Megan as the rest of us did. She's a bitch that needs the hell bitch slapped out of her. He continues, but personally, the Western medical community as a whole is woefully inadequate when it comes to dealing with spiritual issues, and I'm sure this is a spiritual issue. I wasn't sure he said what I thought he said, so I question, could you elaborate on this? Present, Jim and Matt. Mission to recover Jens. I'm drive as Matt and Linus take off their gear and kibitz on a hell of an interesting conversation between Linus and the doctor about our boss. I had always assumed she was a bit screwed up mentally, but she paid well. Matt asks me, Jim, let me take over and you can dump your gear. I pull over and say, Doctor, if you don't mind waiting. I'd like to hear your answer. The doctor responds affirmatively. Matt and I switch places as the doctor continues. I waited because I could tell that you and probably everyone around Jennifer Donaldson are concerned with her mental health. Now this isn't a professional opinion because I don't have facts to back it up. But from what I've observed, Ms. Donaldson is dealing extremely well with a major crisis in her life. And I wouldn't be concerned for her mental health since she's every bit as stable as most young women. To be truthful, the last statement didn't make me feel that good about my boss because from my experience, most women were screwed up to the max. Because the American culture had given them a sense of entitlement to things they weren't entitled to. I remembered how Sally took my guns and pawned them. The bitch. Lack of responsibility. The bitch said everything was always my fault in our marriage, and they all looked at marriage as a tool to advance their own lives, a way to increase their bottom line while decreasing that of their ex-husband. Megan's recent actions have once again confirmed my beliefs to be accurate. Linus asks the question I was dying to ask, but what about this connection she says she has to Ben? The doctor replied, while there is not proof she can actually connect to Ben Blaine, there is also no proof that she can't. I have read examples of this happening, but it was usually between twins that were separated. I add to the confusion. Are you trying to tell me Ben and Jens are twins? Linus gives me a dirty look and reminds me. Jim, did you forget that Ben is 10 years older than Jens? I admit my error as the doctor continues. No, they can't be. I would say Jennifer Donaldson has a fatal attachment or attraction to Ben Blaine. I blurt out. So Jens is stalking Ben like Glenn Close stalked Michael Douglas in the movie Fatal Attraction? The doctor shakes his head again and explains, not at all. Jennifer is not suicidal, and she doesn't seem to want to find Ben to kill him. I laugh. No, but she sure wants to kick his butt. Matt adds, hey you and I said the same thing. Linus summarizes, yeah, Ben Blaine has a line of people about a mile long that want to kick his butt, and the line is getting longer all the time. How could he do what he did to Jens? I thought to myself that I didn't know all the details, but this might be the only case to my knowledge where the problem was the man's fault. Yeah, he definitely needs his butt kicked. Present, Maria, C-130 landed at DI. Once inside, I run right into the toilet, stuck my fingers down the back of my throat, and puked up the bite of sandwich. I can't believe the old fart figured out what I was going to do and made me eat the sandwich. Even though I puke it all out, I was pretty sure it was already too late. I wash up, brush my teeth, and go back out to look for Linus, but I guess he'd already left. I make the rest of the sandwiches and worry. Present. Jens, at the psych hospital. The backstabbing bitch. We were childhood friends, and I can't believe she did this to me. What the hell is her motivation? I'm not sure, but I will find out someday. It will probably be when I'm beating the shit out of her to get even for what she did to me. I'm stuck in a straitjacket, restrained to the bed, and have an orderly assigned to watch me. He's sitting in my room, eyeing me. I know what the scumsucker's thinking. He's wondering if he can figure out some way to screw me. There's no way in hell that's going to happen because I will kill his fat sorry, but if he even tries it. I suppose I should explain what happened. Present. Jens, at the psych hospital an hour earlier. Megan gave me my injection, left the room, and the orderly came in and escorted me to the main room. I saw my new friends from group therapy all sitting at a table together, so I made a beeline for the group and asked, "You mind if I sit down?" Julia answers, "Only if you apologize for making those awful commercials." I was still a little fired up from my workout, so I think about kicking her, but decide she doesn't deserve it yet, so I lie in a manner which I hope will help. I apologize for those commercials. I wasn't thinking straight because I was PMS. The women laughed, and Julia stated, "Well, honey, we've all been there before." I wanted to say speak for yourself because I don't get PMS. Instead, I heard, "Pull up a chair. We were just discussing how we have all been screwed by the pigs." One of the ladies said, "Yes, some of us have been literally screwed by them." I tapped my fingers on the table and questioned, "I'm sorry I didn't get your name. And please tell me what happened?" She says, "Oh yeah, I forgot. You're new. My name is Sally." She points to the others and continues, "That's Anna. Macy, and the quiet one in sunglasses is Brittany." I look at Brittany, and even without her hair and wearing the sunglasses, I recognize her. But I know how I hate being recognized and hate the questions even more, even though I'm dying to ask her when she went bonkers again. So instead, I give her a knowing smile, which she returns. I moved in my chair, but couldn't sit still since it was uncomfortable as hell. Sally continued, "Yeah, I was pulled over by the cops for burnout brake lights." I almost laughed as I remembered Linus getting stopped for the exact same problem. I didn't realize my license was expired. The cop told me if I let him screw me, he'd let me off with a warning. I screwed the hell out of him, and then he wrote me up anyway. So I hit him over the head with my purse, knocked him out, and then I drove off. They caught me at my apartment after I already showered. They wouldn't believe my story and put me in here. I squirmed and quickly replied, "You should have cut the scumsucker's balls off, and then you would have had some proof." Anna laughs. "Yeah, that would have given them all the proof they would have needed to make it really tough on me." Brittany, the bitch, surprises me when she actually asked, "So Jennifer, what did you do to drive your fiancé away, and now that he's dumped you, is he available?" I jumped up from the table, my chair flew across the room, and I yelled, "Hell no, he's not available. He's still mine." She grinned at me and taunted, "Well, if he's yours, why did I hear the tabloids say he's with Stacey Summers?" I couldn't believe it. The fracking tabloids knew about Ben and the bitchy, skanky Stacey Ho. How the hell did they find out about her? I bet it was her fracking strange as hell parents. I bet they sold out their daughter for the money. She opened her mouth again and spewed more garbage. "Yeah, I know her. She's another goody two-shoes like you. What he needs is a real woman like me." She licks her lips and grins seductively. "I know how to keep a man happy." I laughed. "Oh yeah, like you did with Jason or Justin or Kevin. Everyone sure is right. You can take the bitch out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the bitch." She jumped up from her chair and threatened, "I'm going to mess you up," then flew around the table, and we began to fight. She fought pretty good, and I discovered there's a big advantage to not having hair when you fight. The fracking hoe grabs mine and about rips it out of my scalp. The orderlies came and pulled us apart. Megan, the super bitch, is right there giving me a strange smile, and I finally come to my senses. The hoe didn't give me Ativan. She gave me a stimulant. That's why I'm so fired up and wired. Megan declared, "She's proven to be a menace to the other patients. Confine her to her room in restraints." Present, Megan, at the psych hospital. I smile, twirl my hair, and watch the monitor. Jens is restrained on the bed, and I made sure she got the most questionable orderly to guard her. Yeah, he has accumulated more complaints from the female patients than any other orderly. I'll teach that little bitch to punch me in the face. My plan is going perfectly. Then I get a call to report to the director's office. I wonder what he wants. Present, Liz corporate jet headed to DIA. While Bernie might not be thrilled to see Jens again, I sure am for 3 reasons. First, she's like a sister to me, and I miss her. The other 2 reasons are named Yasmin and Zarika. I can't wait to get them out of my hair, but I know I'd better warn Jens about them. I keep calling her phone, but all I get is her voicemail. I leave one message and decide that's enough. However, it's really strange because Jens lives with that mobile phone and usually gets back to right away. I call her girl Friday and also get her voicemail. I leave a message for Jens and decide they must be somewhere that the phones aren't working. I discover that Ben might be in Texas. I check with the station and decide to see if we can get a jump on things, so I make a phone call, and here, this is Sam. Is this my long-lost boss, Liz? I reply, yes, Sam, it's me. You've been doing a hell of a job with your reporting. How are things going in Texas? She answers, Liz, it's still really chaotic down here. Since the government never built a proper barrier between us and Mexico, the border remains so open that they can't stop roaming bands of bandits from crossing over. These bandits take what they want and then retreat back across the border before our forces can respond. Most sensible people have moved further north. I order, well, you're doing a hell of a job. You just make sure you're safe. She almost gushes as she says, oh, my husband Frank and his brother Emmanuel and his Mossad team keep me more than safe. I smile and question, congratulations. So when did you two tie the knot? She is so bubbly as she answers, 2 glorious weeks ago, and I'm still floating. I heard about your plane crash, and I'm so glad you're okay. I answer, yeah, it was bad. But now on to more important things. Don't you two need a honeymoon? With the great job you're doing, the network owes you a hell of a honeymoon. She laughs, Liz, we'd love to take you up on that sometime when things get back to normal. But right now we're headed over to report on a huge story, which is going to be an exclusive. I smile and know that things will never be back to normal for her. She's a natural-born news hound and will always be right in the middle of the action, so there will never be a honeymoon. Did we ever get lucky when we hired her? She's 1 in a million. I hang up, call the station, and tell them to give Samantha and her team whatever they ask for. Also make sure they send her a nice as hell wedding present. Then I sit back and watch as Mira is glowing from all the pampering. Just who the hell is her mystery lover? Bernie asks, did I overhear that Sam is married? I give him a sad smile. Yes, she got married 2 weeks ago. He says, and you offered her a honeymoon trip that she of course turned down. I nod my head. Yes, she did. How did you get so smart? He smiles. Liz, she's just like you when you were younger. She was just incredibly lucky to meet her man, a man that can and will travel with her. But don't worry, you're still young. I lean back in my chair, order up another gin and tonic, and think. I sure as hell don't feel young. In fact, I feel like an old woman. A reporter's life is a hard life, and this crazy trip has just worn me out. I wonder what news scoop Sam has for us now. I look at the TV in the seat in front of me, flip it on, and find the Truth Network, which for now is my only lover. Present Samantha Stevens, Texas. It was good to hear from Liz again. I still feel like the luckiest woman in the world since she took a chance on me when no one else would. And because of that assignment, I met my wonderful husband Frank. I shudder and think of what that damn German news network wanted me to do. I would still be on my knees if I worked for those scumsuckers. Instead, I own Texas. Well, I should say the Truth Network owns Texas. All the other stations pulled their reporters when one group got stupid, was captured and tortured by the Mexican bandidos. Frank and his brother have made the difference because if things start getting bad at all, they are totally ruthless, and I don't feel one bit sorry about it. Hey, the bandidos are the ones invading my country, and they deserve what they get, and then some. So every report down here is a scoop for us. But this one is going to be exceptional if my contacts were correct. We pull into town in our battered news truck. Yeah, we've been through some battles. And pull up to the local sheriff's office. He's the one that gave me the tip. I walk in with Frank and the rest of the team behind me. Get all the details from the sheriff as he accompanies us to the scene. I've seen some bad things, but this is some of the worst. I excuse myself for a minute, go outside and throw up, then come back inside, look at Frank and declare, I'm ready. He starts the video camera, and I say, greeting America, Samantha Stevens. Excuse me, Samantha Cohen. I'm still getting used to my married name. Here for the Truth Network, reporting once again from Texas. We are at the scene of the brutal torture and slaying of Mr. and Mrs. Summers, which was discovered by the local law enforcement officer, Sheriff Marlon Trevette. What is disturbing about these murders is the criminal or criminals spend a lot of time with the victims. This is also the furthest north the bandidos have ventured for at least a month. Would you care to comment on this, Sheriff? Present Liz, corporate jet headed to DI. We listen to the comments and the end of the report, then I remember I forgot to ask Sam something. I call her back up and say, great job on the report, Sam. You showed just enough so the viewers got an idea of how bad it was, but not so much it would offend anyone. She answers, thanks Liz, coming from you that compliment means a lot. But why did you really call? I say, Sam, we've heard that Jens Ben is somewhere in Texas. She interrupts, yeah Liz, we've uncovered the same rumors and have even more information. Apparently, he's traveling with Stacy Summers. Our investigation also revealed her parents were headed down here to try to find her. I think for a moment and offer my thoughts. Stacy, my reporter instinct tells me there is more going on with the parents' death than is obvious. It's not the normal assault and pillage that you've described on your other reports. She concurs. Yeah, Liz, I was thinking the same thing. What the person or persons did to both of them was so bad it made me sick. Plus, they fled with the debit cards which were quickly maxed out and even stole their Mercedes. If it made Sam sick, then it had to be worse than real bad. I ask, see if you can put out some feelers for Ben and Stacy. If they are in Texas, sooner or later they have to surface. And keep an eye out for that car, because I don't think this was done by banditos. She replies, will do, Liz. Anything else? I think for a moment and reply, no, you're doing a great job, just stay safe. She hangs up, and I'm happy for her, because I can tell she really did meet the right man when she met Frank. I look over and see Mira being pampered. I also think of Yinz with Ben. Oh, I know she will eventually find him and make him pay. And I'm really sad because everyone has someone except for me. I debate about having one more gin and tonic and decide I've had enough for right now. Bernie tries to comfort me. Liz, don't look so sad. You always have me. I smile, hold his hand and agree, yeah, Bernie, but it's not the same. But with the next thought, I wonder if it could be. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. I just finished killing that damn eastern brown snake. Stacy fell out of the tree by the snake, woke up, saw the snake, and passed out again. Damn women and their crazy fears about snakes and bugs. So I pick her up to move here away from the snake. I suddenly hear a hell of a noise as something crashes through the bushes behind me. It's got to be the damn rhino again, and he's caught me flat-footed, no weapon, and my hands full of Stacy. I turn and prepare for death, and hope it's quick, when Bo flies out of the bushes and begins to stomp the hell out of the snake. I've never been so happy to see any horse and shout, well, you're a sight for sore eyes. Where the hell have you been? He nickers and comes over beside me. I see he's missing his saddle, is all lathered up and smells just like horse sweat. Only horse sweat squared. But it doesn't matter to me. He's back, and with him here we just might make it back to the bunker. I ask him, where the hell is your saddle? He shakes his head, and I figure he lost it escaping from the dead lion. I move over to a different tree to set Stacy down on the ground. Then I go back, ignore his smell, difficult to do, hug the hell out of his neck and praise him, you're the finest horse I've ever known. He nickers and noses me. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I wake up and hear a horse and hope it's Patches. I open my eyes and see Ben and Bo are having a together moment. I look closer and see Bo is covered with lather and is shaking a bit, so I go into teacher mode. Ben, you need to take care of Bo. Ben turns towards me, smiles and offers, I am. I'm telling him what a good horse he is. I fight my way to me feet, even though it hurts like hell, suddenly become concerned and demand, where's that scary snake? Ben is still praising Bo, I wish he praised me like that, and replies, Bo stomped the hell out of him. I stand beside Bo, reach over to pat him, and say, thanks, Bo. I didn't want Ben trying to turn that nasty snake into chili. Bo nickers and nudges Ben some more. Now it's time to give Ben some more horse care instruction. I explain, Ben, Bo worked really hard getting back here, maybe too hard. That's why he's lathered up and shaking. You need to wet a rag with cool water and wipe him down. Ben grumbles, Stacy, you're the one who wanted to keep the horses, so I think it should be your job. Besides, we don't have enough water. I respond, no, Ben. Bo's your horse, and you need to sacrifice your water to do this. Ben counters, okay, then you need to get back up in the tree with the rifle and stand watch. And remember, while you're doing that, snakes can climb trees. I look over where the dead snake is and grimace. Not only would it be very painful to climb up in the tree again, it wouldn't keep me safe from the snakes. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. I'm not sure of all the details, but I'm damn sure Stacy froze when she saw the snake because it was entirely too close to us by the time she alerted me. Plus, she was distracted as hell while I was repairing the rifle. That reminds me, I need to go and look at the rifle. I walk over, take one look at it, and I'm pissed. Bo, in stomping the hell out of the snake, just happened to knock the rifle over and stomp the hell out of it too. I want to take what's left of the rifle and beat him to death with it, but he did come back to us. Most horses wouldn't do that, and we certainly need him. I will just ignore the rifle for now. Where was I? Oh yeah, Stacy's essay has been questionable, so I need her to wipe down Bo while I make sure there are no more surprises in this circus from hell. Yeah, I was a scumsucker to capitalize on her fear of snakes, but even though this is Texas, we are still in a war. I watch Stacy think, and she finally admits, well, I'm too sore to climb a tree right now, so I will wipe down Bo while you stand watch. But I am still using your water. It's good to know that sometimes things still work out for me. I grab the Winchester. Thank God Bo didn't stomp it to hell too. Head over to the tree and climb up into the lower branches. Stacy comes over and says, Ben, did you forget something? I look at her and answer, I don't think so. She points, I need some water out of your pack and that neck scarf you're wearing. I inform her, just so you know, this is water for both of us and it's all I have left. And you're sure not getting my shamak. It's been through hell and back with me. Use something else to wipe him down. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Ben is back to being his disagreeable self and actually uses my fear of snakes to get his way. If he hadn't saved me, my pain is a constant reminder of that fact. I would be mad at him. So I relent and say, fine, I will use my shirt and just enough water to get the job done. I almost remove my shirt when Ben surprises me by throwing his neck scarf at me and says, what the hell? It's not like I can't wash this. Go ahead and use it. Here's the rest of our water too. I look up at him, smile and say, thanks Ben. Then I wonder why he changed his mind. Oh well, Grandmama was right. Men are a wondrous mystery. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Stacy begins to take off her shirt, and I sure as hell don't want that to happen. So I give in and let her use my shamak to clean Bo. It needs to be washed anyway, and if Guy hasn't taken over the bunker and the generator is still working, then I can wash it there. That presents a problem I hadn't thought about. What if Guy has taken over the bunker? How in the hell will we know he did? Even worse, how in the hell will we ever get his fat dope smoking out of there? I make sure not to let this troubling issue distract me while Stacy wipes down Bo. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I begin to wipe down Bo and notice something. Now that I'm not really scared, my back is really sore too. I reach my arm around, feel a bandage there, and wonder what the frack has happened back there. I guess I need to ask Ben about it later. Bo is sure liking his rub down, so he moves and noses me. I talk to him. Thanks for coming back. I really wish you had brought Patches back with you. He nickers like he understands, and I laugh when I consider that perhaps he understands me better than Ben. I finish and announce, all done. Then Bo takes off and Ben yells, what did you do to him? I reply, all I did was told him how I wish he had brought Patches with him. Ben slaps his head and complains, great, we just get him back. Now he's gone again to look for another damn hay burner. I answer sorry about that. I really didn't think he would do that. Then I change the subject. By the way, did something happen to my back? Ben gets the exact same look as a kid does when they get caught doing something naughty while he answers. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Shit. Stacy finally notices her torn up back. I was dreading when she finally became aware of the problem because I don't want to tell her what really happened. She asks me and I lie, well, it did get assaulted up some. She gives me the bitch look and orders, Ben, you're a damn bad liar, so tell me what happened to my back. I jump down out of the tree to talk with Stacy. Then I hear noises again, worry it's the damn rhino, so I yell, Stacy, get up in the tree. Stacy sprints to the tree and makes like a monkey while I pull up the Winchester, thumb back the hammer, aim, wait, and calm myself. I'm ready to fire when Bo and Patches erupt through the bushes. I lower the Winchester and yell, you need to let me know when you're coming. But this time they don't stop and keep running right past me. I hear a new noise behind them. Realizing what it is, bring the Winchester up and don't even wait to see it. I begin to fire at the noise and I know I hit when I hear the solid thunks. I empty the rifle, step behind the tree, and start to reload. Stacy realizes what the noise is too and yells, Ben, throw me a revolver. Without looking, I slip my hand down, draw and throw the revolver toward the sound of her voice. She complains, damn it, you hit me in the face. I whisper loudly, Stacy, keep your voice down. The rhino charges out into the clearing. Stacy begins to fire, and I realize I made a mistake. The rhino might not have seen me behind the tree because of his poor eyesight, and I might have been able to hide, but he sure as hell can hear and feel Stacy firing at him. He charges towards the tree, and I bug the hell out of there. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Bo came back with Patches, but he also brought the fracking rhino with him. Ben tosses a revolver to me. It hits me right in the lip, but at least I catch it. The rhino runs into the clearing. He looks confused at first until I fire at him. I hit him, then he charges towards the tree. Ben takes off running. The rhino sees him and begins to chase Ben, and frack, I'm out of ammo again. So I throw pine cones at the rhino again, hoping to distract him, but he must want Ben pretty badly because he ignores the pine cones. I begin to cry because the rhino is gaining on Ben while Ben's running away from the trees. I jump out of the tree to try to distract the rhino when, present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. I realize my goose is finally cooked. I made a tactical mistake and ran away from the trees. The rhino sees me and gains on me with every step I take. It's just a matter of time until he catches me. Normally, I would put the rifle over my shoulder and fire at the scumsucker. Yes, I can hit things this way because I've practiced, hoping to hit it, but Stacy's behind me, and I can't afford to do that because I might hit her. Then Bo charges into the clearing from the side, rears up, paws the air, and makes a hell of a noise. The rhino stops like it's confused, then bellows, changes direction, and runs towards Bo. I guess those two have some unfinished business because the rhino is more pissed at Bo than he is at me. I take the opportunity to spin, pull up the Winchester, and fire at the scumsucker until the rifle is again empty. He's moving slower and bleeding like hell. He should be. He has December 30th, 30 rounds in him. Bo's run off again, so he turns toward me and charges. I crash through some bushes, see a creek with about a 10-foot drop-off below me. I try to remember if rhinos can swim. Get ready to jump in, when screw it all. I see a log with two eyes looking at me. Yeah, it's an alligator, and it wants me for a meal. I grab the largest root I can see, swing over the side and hold on for dear life, hoping the root doesn't break. The rhino crashes through the bushes, doesn't see the creek or drop-off in time, slides over the side, and begins to fight with the alligator. I personally hope the alligator wins. I begin to pull myself up when, present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Ben crashes through some bushes with the rhino right behind him. Bo's returned, and we go running after Ben. As we get to the bushes, I'm ready to crash through then when Bo grabs the collar of my shirt and stops me. I yell, "Let me go." Ben needs help. Then I look and see there's a big drop off and a creek below it. I blink my eyes because I can't believe the rhino fell into the creek. It looks like he's badly hurt, and he's fighting like crazy against 3 crocodiles. There's blood everywhere in the water, so I assume Ben went over first. I sink to me knees and begin to cry until then I hear, "If you could stop crying, I sure could use some help getting back up before this damn root breaks." It's Ben. I get close to the edge and see he's holding on to what has to be the smallest root I've ever seen. I sure don't know how it's supporting his weight. I hit the dirt and reach my hand over the side. Ben can barely grab it, but he does and holds on tight. I try to pull him up, but I can't. In fact, his weight is causing me to slide over the side of the drop-off with him. Ben realizes what's happening and says, "Stacy, I can't let you die with me." I know what he's going to do, so I grab his arm with my free hand and yell, "There's no way in hell I'm letting you die alone. We're a team, and we either live together or die together." I slide even faster now as I keep staring at the hungry crocodiles and the still fighting rhino. And the whole time I hope they are too distracted with each other to bother with us. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. Where the hell have my damn SGTs gone? They should have been at the site by now. I hope to hell they approach this target with some finesse, unlike how they have been behaving lately. They have been flying in, blowing the hell out of everything, and then taking off. When we first discovered the target, there were no troops. But that changed, and now there were troops everywhere, and they were digging up what we were sure was a SS-25 warhead. The more they uncovered, the more certain we became. I watched the satellite feed and questioned, what the hell was that? Give me the last 3 minutes on a separate screen. I couldn't believe it. The SGT's Jeep flew into the screen, stopped, fired at the troops, then took off. I switched back to the real-time screen and observed most of the troops chasing after the Jeep. My tech asked, "Sir, do we continue to monitor the site, or do we follow the Jeep?" A limit of 1 target and lack of resolution were real issues with the equipment available. With just 1 bird, we could only monitor 1 target. I knew my primary concern had to be the warhead and reluctantly ordered, "Stay with the site." I hoped the SGTs escaped this one because they had a hell of a lot of troops after them. At least work had now slowed on the excavation. If they unearthed this and moved it, we might not ever find it again. As it was, weapons were being hauled into a neighboring country at an alarming rate. So we waited and watched for another hour. I blinked, looked again at the feed and asked, "Does it seem to anyone else that all excavation work has ceased?" My techs answered, "Yes, sir. It appears the workers are taking a break." Now that was strange. I continued to watch and cursed that we didn't have better resolution. Then a lone truck drove away from the site, which also didn't make any sense. Flashback, Mira and Ira, undisclosed location. The radio crackled, and Ira responded to its summons. She presented me with an aggrieved look and ordered, "Come, Mira. The Israelis have determined a target of eminent interest which we must thoroughly investigate." I smiled greatly and commented, "Ira, anything is superior to sitting on our derrieres and maintaining a watch for the Harlequins." We sped to our motorcycles and departed post-haste. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I still couldn't believe Ben liked my plan. We unloaded a crapload of gear and hauled it close to the top of our observation dune. I looked at Ben and asked for confirmation, "You're sure about this?" He answered, "Jack, your plan is the only option if we want to take out this target." Then he followed with one stern order, "Jack, don't screw up my GAZ." Yes, I was shocked when Ben let me drive his Jeep. He was in love with this pile of junk, and as I drove it, I wondered why. I sure couldn't determine anything special about it. In fact, I sort of felt like it drove like shit. I missed a shift and cursed, "Come on, you worthless piece of crap." Yeah, this Jeep wasn't anything special, at least to me. I looped around and finally got this piece of crap moving. I flew into the site, jumped up, and fired a short burst from the machine gun. It certainly had the desired effect since the scumsuckers started chasing me. I floored this fat, wallowing piece of shit and yelled, "Come on, move it." Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. So far, Jack's plan has worked perfectly. As pissed off as the RG was at us, when he drove close to the site and fired, they were after him like a fat kid goes after a dozen donuts. I watched and cursed, "Jack, get my GAZ the hell out of there." I wasn't sure what was wrong, but he sure didn't look like he was trying very hard to get away. Once Jack's excitement was over at the site, it was my turn to do the voodoo I do so well. I loaded up all the gear I needed and slipped towards the site in my ghillie suit. Damn, all this shit was heavy as hell. Either that or I was getting fat and lazy like Jack, maybe from too much cruising around in my girl. That reminded me, Jack had better take good care of her, or I will kick his butt. The perimeter guard was sleeping since I guess he thought it was safe with everyone else chasing us. That was his last mistake. I scanned the site and saw the idiots only left 10 other guards to stand watch with about 10 more workers uncovering the SS-25 warhead. The guard's SA was so low it was practically non-existent, so I dropped behind a truck, opened the door, and found the key was in it. Then I slipped out of my ghillie suit, left it and most of the gear under the truck, and boldly walked towards the first guard. He saw me and instantly snapped out of his daydreams. I motioned for him to follow me. The fool did, until we were behind a dune. I stopped. He walked up to me, my blade flashed, and he was dead. I liberated his rifle, did a function check on it, and proceeded toward the next guard. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I'm not sure what sort of magic Ben pulled out of his but to make this damn piece of crap move, but I sure wish I knew because I can't get this pile of bolts to move worth a damn. I can barely keep ahead of the scumsuckers chasing me. I watched them in the rear view mirror. Then this piece of shit finally took off like Ben was driving it. I looked down, scanned the instruments and smiled, because I finally figured out what Ben did. I would have given him hell if I had known earlier. I started to pull away from them, turned on the radio, and played the theme to Peter Gunn on Ben's music player. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I got down to the last 2 guards before they figured out the others were gone, and then the scumsuckers fired at me. However, they both forgot one of the first rules of any gun battle. Don't stand still and move to cover. And that was the last and most fatal of their mistakes. Now all I had were the workers to deal with. I looked around and was surprised because all the workers had booked it. I headed over to the truck, grabbed my gear, switched on the Geiger counter, and walked toward the warhead. Like Jack, I hope to have kids someday, and I also didn't want them born with 3 arms. The Geiger counter registered high, but safe, levels of radiation, so I approached the warhead. I took a hell of a lot of pictures of it, set my charges, set a perimeter of anti-personnel mines, and ran toward the truck. I tossed the rest of my gear in the truck, jumped and cranked the truck, but the scumsucker wouldn't start. I cursed, "Come on, you worthless piece of crap." I cranked it again, but this time it sputtered to life. I slammed it into gear and floored it. I used the trick from my GAZ, and this truck lumbered away. I headed toward the rendezvous I had set up with Jack. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. What the hell was that? I thought I had outrun the scumsuckers, and now someone just peppered the back of the Jeep with automatic fire. I checked my rearview mirror and saw a motorcycle chasing me. Shit. Outrunning trucks and Jeeps in this piece of shit was one thing, but a good dirt bike was a totally different story. I downshifted and used Ben's trick. I ignored the hell out of the tachometer until the engine sounded like it was going to explode, then snapped an upshift and pulled away from the dirt bike. Flashback, Ira and Mira, undisclosed location. As we approached the site of interest, the lucky lady laughed upon us. We surmounted a ridge, and there before us was the Harlequin's vehicle. We quickly stopped, and I directed, "Mira, I will vociferously pursue the Harlequin's GAZ and attempt to herd the miscreants in your direction." Mira stated, "Caution, my sister, because it appears the piloting of the GAZ is not as competently performed as previously encountered." I watched and then concurred. "Yes, Mira. The driver does not possess the same skills as the previous driver." Mira then descended from her motorcycle and began to prepare her rifle position. I proceeded post-haste to intercept the GAZ. I assembled my PSG-1 and waited for Ira to herd the Harlequin's GAZ toward me. Finally, I would kill these buffoons, exfiltrate this cursed desert, and return to Israel. The wind blew like Hades today, directly into my face while devils of dust swirled before my ocular units. I estimated the correction and waited for Ira to motivate the Harlequin toward me. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Son of a bitch. More gunfire. The scumsucker I thought I outran was back and shot the hell out of Ben's Jeep. I worried because Ben was serious when he told me not to screw up his GAZ, and I'm sure these rounds were leaving marks on the Jeep which I would have to explain. The motorcycle pulled up beside me, and they fired again, hitting the side glass. I was pleased as hell it was bullet resistant, but the bullets still left marks. I swerved toward the motorcycle, but the rider swerved away and fired again. Whoever the hell they were damn good on both motorcycles and firearms. I swerved away in another direction, and thank God, the motorcycle dropped behind me. It was time to swerve again. Flashback, AITA, undisclosed location. I possessed some slight concern because the Harlequin's GAZ contained only one corporeal body, while our supplied data assured us there were two members of the team. I surmised that one of the Harlequins had expired and pushed the assumption out of my cranial cavity. I had larger fish to bake. I must motivate this Harlequin toward my sister Myra's waiting ambush. This process proved to be easier than pie. However, I did not then fathom the trick the Harlequin actuated. Flashback, Myra, undisclosed location. I restrained my laughter as I watched AITA play a deadly game of cat and rat with the Harlequins. She was an expert at this, and it did not take her long until the GAZ was headed directly toward me. I looked through my scope, noticed there was only one Harlequin, and briefly contemplated the location of the second Harlequin. I acquired the operator of the GAZ, aimed slightly lower by 6 centimeters than my intended impact point. When projectiles traverse vehicle windscreens, they always impact high, and fired. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Son of a bitch, I just figured it out. I was being herded into an ambush. I swerved just in time because a bullet penetrated the windshield on the passenger side of Ben's GAZ. Shit, I'm screwed now. No, not because of the motorcycle or the ambush, but because Ben would kill me for the hole in the windshield. The motorcycle was right on my butt as it tried to herd me into the ambush again. That's when I decided to screw this shit and did something totally unexpected. Flashback, Myra, undisclosed location. Fecal matter. The Harlequin turned the GAZ just as I fired. I missed my original aim point and hit the windscreen where the passenger should be. My sister AITA attacked more vociferously than ever, but the GAZ swerved like a drunken Cossack. I knew I could never eliminate the driver, so I decided to do the next best thing. I took aim, fired again, and fecal matter. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Let me see how you like this scumsucker. I slammed on the brakes with both feet. The motorcycle rammed into the back of Ben's GAZ, and I watched as the rider flew through the air. I started to spin around to run over the scumsucker. Flashback, Myra, undisclosed location. The Harlequin assaulted my sister with an unexpected application of the brakes, which forced my second shot to totally miss the GAZ. She collided with the aft end of the GAZ, and then the Harlequin acted as if he was attempting to overrun my sister, so I immediately performed the exact required action. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Well, that took care of the damn motorcycle rider, but it pissed the hell out of the sniper. They were shooting the hell out of Ben's GAZ, and the bullets were rattling around inside. I decided to get the hell out of Dodge while I could. I got ready to drive away when something really bad happened. Flashback, Myra, undisclosed location. As the GAZ departed, I jumped up to render aid to my possibly injured sister, and in my haste, I ignored the menacing roar behind me until it was almost too late. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I was almost to the rendezvous point with Jack. I topped a sand dune, and I couldn't believe my eyes. There was a sniper on the top of the next sand dune. I downshifted, smiled, and the engine raced and exceeded the red line. I wasn't worried because Russian trucks were built like my M40 to take a licking and keep on ticking. The truck lumbered ahead. I aimed right for the sniper and thought I was going to run them over, until he jumped up and headed down the other side of the dune. I did see all the equipment they left, which included a motorcycle, and made sure to run it the hell over. I cleared the top of the dune, realized the sniper didn't hear me because of the wind, and made a beeline right toward their butt. Flashback, Myra and AITA, undisclosed location. I turned and watched as a Kamaz crushed my motorcycle, and I barely had opportunity to avoid the same fate. It passed by, the driver laughed, and I swore I would kill them one day. Departed in the direction of the GAZ. I fired at the Kamaz until my rifle ammunition was exhausted, but my rifle caliber against the Kamaz was ineffective. As I reached my sister, she erected and asked, Myra, please inform me you accomplished your half of the mission. I sat beside her and lamented, unfortunately AITA, the Harlequins both escaped. AITA ordered, let us acquire our motorcycles and give chase. We ran over to AITA's motorcycle and determined it was disabled, so AITA commanded, Myra, we will both continue astride yours. I studied the desert sand as I informed my sister. AITA, the Harlequin who operated the Kamaz, decimated my motorcycle. AITA questioned, what Kamaz? I must observe your motorcycle. We traversed toward the summit of the dune, and I explained the happenstance to my sister. We had crested the dune, and AITA viewed my decimated motorcycle. She began to speak when there was an extremely bright flash in the sky. AITA commanded. Myra caressed the ground. Present, Tom. C-130 landed at DI. I am sick as hell. I don't believe it. The bitch must have doctored my coffee too. What sort of evil woman doctors a man's coffee? The only consolation is that she's sick too. And because I monopolized the toilet on the plane, she has to head inside. I can only hope she didn't make it in time. Present, Maria, C-130 landed at DI. Shit. My plan backfired, but still sort of worked. The drops I put on the sandwich and in Tom's coffee were only supposed to make him feel a little sick, not cause major problems. Instead, they worked too well, and he's locked in the plane's bathroom. I barely made it to the bathroom inside before my guts exploded, and I had it coming out of both ends. The only good thing is I'm sure he got a larger dose than I did. That's the last damn time I trust an internet language translator. Present, Byron, C-130 landed at DI. Well, Tom and Maria are both down. I guess she was sneakier than we both thought because she must have also doctored the coffee. Now I had to take charge. The first thing I did was have the coffee and sandwiches thrown away just in case Maria was sloppy and got whatever she gave Tom on anything else. Tom's locked in the plane's toilet, and from the sounds I hear emanating from it, isn't doing well. So I head to the women's toilet inside the terminal, bang on the door, and yell, "Maria, are you in here?" I hear her reply, "Hell yes, now go away." There's no way that's going to happen because I need to find out what the hell she gave Tom, and accidentally herself. I barge into the bathroom. Damn, this is much nicer than a men's bathroom, but it smells like hell. And yell, "Maria, what the hell did you give Tom?" I hear her moan and complain, "I think I'm dying." I head over in front of her locked stall. I'm pissed, and yell, "Well, you deserve what you got for what you did to Tom. Answer me right now. What the hell did you give him?" A little bottle rolls out under the stall door, and she replies, "I used this." I pick it up to look at it, and note that everything on it is in Russian. I then demand, "Just where the hell did you get this?" She loses some more out of one of her ends, but I wait and finally hear her admit, "I took it out of Masha's purse." I explode, "What the hell have you done? You don't even know what it is." She feebly defends herself. I translated it on the internet, and thought it was a laxative for constipation. I consider her statement, "Laxative my butt. This is something a hell of a lot more serious than that. I need to sort this out really fast." I yell, "I'm going to talk to Masha to see what the hell you've done, and someone will be back to keep an eye on you." I need to find Masha and find out what the hell Maria gave herself and Tom, because this could be life-threatening. Present, Linus, mission to recover Jens. What a hell of a time for this to happen. I'm sick as a dog right in the middle of Jens' rescue mission. I had Matt stop the car and I puked and shit my guts out beside the road. Now I'm using my training to control myself and continue the mission. The doctor counsels, "Linus, I think I should examine you." I start to argue, but he orders, "Listen, it's obvious you ate or drank something that's poisoned your system, and time could be of the essence." He begins to examine me, gives me a serious look, and says, "Matt, you'd better get us to the hospital." Present, Masha, C-130 landed at DI. I am resting on a bed and cogitating on the problems Ms. Donaldson has caused to my previously idyllic life and consider how to rectify those problems. Then Byron runs up to my bed, holds up a vial, and demands, "Masha, do you know what this is?" I take it out of his hand, realize what it is, and question, "Where did you acquire this? Because it was in my purse." He states Maria took it. I interrupt, "I hope she didn't use it." He states, "She sure as hell did use it, and she and Tom are in the toilets right now sick as hell from it." I rapidly rise and say, "Then we must rectify Maria's behavior post-haste." Present, Jens, at the psych hospital. I watch the scumsucker orderly like a hawk as he seems like he's trying to work up his courage. To give him a reason to rethink his position, I tell a whopper, "The last scumsucker that tried to assault me, who was twice your size, lost his family jewels." He gives me an evil grin and threatens, "But you're restrained and tied to the bed, so you couldn't do anything about it. I could just unzip your jumpsuit and have my way with you." I taunt him, "Oh yeah, how the hell are you going to unzip my jumpsuit and keep this straitjacket on me? The second you take off this straitjacket, I'm going to rip off your balls." I can tell this information has his feeble mind fully occupied, just what I wanted. So I relax a bit and try to determine what's going on with Megan. Present, Megan, at the psych hospital. I walk into the director's office and immediately tense up. Something is going on because he's speaking with someone I don't recognize and gives me an unusual look. He motions to a chair and requests, "Please take a seat." I calmly sit and question, "I hope this doesn't take long because I need to get back to my patient." The stranger looks at me and asks, "Is that patient Jennifer Donaldson?" I respond, "I can't tell you because of doctor-patient confidentiality." He smiles like a shark and informs me, "But I'm Jennifer Donaldson's lawyer, so anything you say to me is covered by the same confidentiality." Oh hell, how is she able to get a lawyer here so quickly? I know it must be one of her friends that helped. I reply, "Then yes, she is my patient. She had a catatonic psychotic episode on the flight to Denver and needs treatment for her condition." Her damn lawyer looks at the director and counters, I have a medical doctor traveling on the same plane who is now on his way here. He will testify that Ms. Donaldson simply collapsed due to stress and will say that psychological treatment is not necessary. I counter, well, where is he, and will he be able to explain her actions since she's been here? She initiated a riot in group therapy and then later attacked one of the patients from the same group in the day room. The lawyer answers, he was delayed when one of my paralegals became sick and had to be rushed to the hospital, but he should be here within the hour. He looks at the director and the scumsucker adds, we have reason to believe that the current treatment Ms. Donaldson is receiving borders on malpractice. The director looks at me and responds, those are serious allegations. I think I would like Ms. Donaldson brought in here so I can speak with her. I quickly volunteer. I will go ask the orderlies to bring her here. I leave and realize that if they talk to Jens, they will discover what I've done. I hate to do it, but I'm forced to do something I never wanted to do. Present Liz corporate jet headed to DIA. One of the many flight attendants. Yeah, I think there are more flight attendants than passengers on this flight. Announces, please fasten your seatbelts. We will be landing at Denver International Airport in 15 minutes. Mine was already fastened because I always wear my seatbelt on flights. Bernie looks at me and comments, oh great, I can hardly wait to rejoin Jens' three-ring circus. I smile at him, pat his hand and say, come on, it's not that bad. He shakes his head and continues, is it really is that bad? I know she's part owner of the station, but this whole hunt for her ex-fiancé has gone on long enough and has really made a mess of things. I mildly correct him and further question, Bernie, you'd better not let her hear you call Ben her ex-fiancé, and just what do you mean about the mess? He answers, Liz, it's time that you look at this like a reporter instead of as a friend. Jens is a one-woman tornado. Just look at the debris she's left behind on this hunt for Ben. Bernie might have a point, and I might have let my feelings for Jens cloud my personal judgment. I think about what he says as the plane touches down. We taxi a hell of a long way, and I watch as we approach AC-130. The plane stops, and I'm shocked when Mira walks up. I always knew she was a beautiful woman. However, I never realized exactly how beautiful she is. She is so radiant, I swear she's glowing as she says, Ms. Morgan, please close your vocal orifice, or you might attract annoying bi-winged insects. She giggles and continues, Bernie, please discontinue oculating me, as if you wish to train me. There was a time when that might have been feasible. However, now my reproductive organs will be otherwise occupied. I stutter, but. Mira continues, Ms. Morgan, you attempt an inferior imitation of a motorboat. Now Alexei and I will be unavoidably detained for the rest of today, and since my sister Ira is deceased, I have arranged for an armed escort to protect you while I am absent. She leaves with Alexei and the metal cylinder. I look and Bernie, punch him in the arm and order, damn Bernie, put your eyes back in your head, and remember that underneath that beauty is my bodyguard. Bernie mutters, I'd sure as hell like to guard her body. I punch the hell out of his arm and say, come on, let's get out of here and meet Jens. Bernie laughs. Hey Liz, aren't you forgetting something? I stop and say, I don't think so. He points to the two girls and I immediately swear, damn it, I wish I could forget them. In fact, I wish I had left them the hell where we found them. I motion to them and they follow me like a couple of stray bitches. Present Mira corporate jet at DI. Alexei and I traverse the steps and descend to the runway. When I oculate her, I transfer the blessed cylinder to Alexei, prepare for possible combat, and whisper, Alexei, acquire this and collocate to the side. Do not speak, and whatever you do, do not let this lady close to you, as she is an imminent lethal threat. I use all my skills to attempt to ascertain her attitude as she approaches me. However, she appears as a void book. She smiles and greets me. Miranda Sedankina, how are you? I still cannot literate her visage, so I decide to confront her. Maria Reynolds, my response would be determined by your purpose for detaining us. I am exceedingly alarmed with being met by a former, there were rumors, she wasn't so former, operative. I reach into my purse to acquire my weapon. She smiles and explains. Miranda, your weapon is not needed. I am not here to accost you. I know of your plans, and I am overjoyed with them, and will assist you if you allow. However, I am here to ask you a question. I still do not totally trust her, but I am intrigued by the nature of a potential question she has for me. I respond, keep your distance and inform me of your question. She relates her request to me. I smile, reach into my purse and convey to her the requested item. She smiles in response and surprises me with her statement. Thank you, Miranda. I heard about the demise of your sister, and I do hope in time I might become close to you. I know things about birthing children which will help us both with our deliveries. Now it is my turn, so I interrogate. Mashinka, you are with child again? She smiles. Yes, Marinka, for 1 month. You are the first to know. I feel honored as she departs. Perhaps if she is not operating on some ruse, we might become acquaintances. Alexei returns to my side and questions, Mira, did that woman perform the same function as you and my deceased sister Ira contributed to our country? Is this the reason you were so cautious with her? I smile at him. Yes, my brilliant brother, you are so astute. Now come as our carriage awaits. Present Liz corporate jet at DI. I pause on the steps and watch an interesting as hell exchange between Mira, who's obviously agitated, and Masha, and wonder what the hell is going on. Bernie even comments, wow, Mira looks like she's ready to kill that other woman. Isn't that Jack Reynolds' wife? I get ready to respond when the damn girls start pushing us. I tell Bernie, shit, I'm getting off these steps before those two push me over. Bernie takes a cue from me and beats me to the ground. I arrive just as Mira and Alexei get into a limousine and leave. The girls see the limousine and both run towards it screaming. I yell, hey you morons, where are you going? Yasmin yells, up yours crack ho. Bernie states the obvious, the faster we find Jens the better. I take off after the two girls and yell, I can't agree more. And I think, Jens is going to beat these two senseless. Present Yasmin and Zarika corporate jet at DI. Yasmin, I see a limo and know it has to be my husband Ben, because he's a big star. The Liz lady is in my way, so I begin to push at her when she runs down the stairs. I'm right behind her and watch as the mean lady and her nasty little brother get into my limo, and it begins to leave. So I chase it and yell, Ben, I am here for you. Zarika, the zit-faced, follows me and yells, Ben, ignore her. I'm here. Your first wife. Zarika. Yasmin tries to get to the limo before me, but because of her injured arm, she cannot. I almost arrive when some men with guns step out and begin to shout at us. And Yasmin, the fool, shouts back at them. Present Liz corporate jet at DI. Oh shit. The hullabaloo the two bitches raised has attracted the attention of some men with guns. My maternal instinct kicks in, just barely with these two, and I run toward the group shouting, don't fire, they don't speak English. I run up as Yasmin shouts, eat shit and die. One of the men laughs and says, not today, little one. They stand down. He looks at me and says, I gather you're Liz Morgan, and these are the two girls you brought with you. Tom told us you'd be arriving. I question, just where is Tom? Byron walks up and answers, Liz, it's good to see you. Sorry I wasn't here sooner, but Tom's sick as hell, and the doctors don't know what the hell is wrong with him. I noticed that SIF's medical C-130 and know if they can't figure this out, it must be serious. I question, well, how serious is he? Byron shakes his head, I'm afraid damn serious. I query, well, is Jens doing anything to help? Byron shakes his head, Liz, you're out of the loop. Megan had Jens taken to a psych hospital because Jens had a sort of seizure. I say, what? Don't tell me Jens said she could see what Ben was doing. Byron nods, that's right. How did you know? I swear. Damn it, because she can do that and Megan can't believe it. That bitch, I'm going to kick her butt. Byron replies, well, she insulted everyone on the plane, so you'll have to stand in line. I again ask, so what's being done about Jens? Byron replies, Tom called a lawyer and sent one of the SIF's doctors along with Linus, Matt, and Jim to the psych hospital. He checks his watch and says, they made a detour because Linus came down with the same problem as Tom and Maria. I interrupt, Byron, what the hell is going on? Did you guys catch some sort of strange virus? Byron shakes his head, no Liz, it was Tom and Maria. I interrupt again, don't tell me Tom insulted her. Byron continues, yeah, that's right. He insulted her, and she decided to get even by playing a practical joke on Tom. She took something out of Masha's purse that she thought was a laxative and put it on Tom's sandwich and in his coffee. Tom made her eat part of the sandwich, so that's how Maria got sick, and we think Linus grabbed and ate the rest of the sandwich, and that's why he's sick. I look at Byron and think, I'm sure glad I'm not hungry because I'm not eating anything around this bunch. I tell Byron, I'm going to check on Tom and Maria. He laughs, you might want to wear hearing protection. They put them in beds adjacent to each other. I start to leave, the girls start to complain, and Byron asks, what about these two? I say, my job was to get them here. They're here now, so now they are your problem. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Ben is hanging over the edge of a drop-off by a tiny root, and below him the rhino and crocodiles are fighting in a creek. I lay down and reach my hand over the side. Ben can barely grab it, but he does and holds on tight. I try to pull him up, but I can't. In fact, his weight is causing me to slide over the edge of the drop-off with him. Ben realizes what is happening and says, Stacy, I can't let you die with me. I know what he's going to do, so I grab his arm with my free hand and yell, there's no way in hell I'm letting you die alone. We're a team, and we either live together or die together. I slide even faster now while I keep staring at the hungry crocodiles and the still fighting rhino. All I can hope for is that they are too engaged with each other to bother with us. Ben yells, let me the hell go. He struggles with his free hand to break my grip. I hang on for dear life and yell back, no way in hell am I letting you go. I close my eyes because soon I will be too far over the edge and we'll both fall to our doom. Then something grabs the back of my pants and starts to pull me back. It hurts like heck sliding across the ground, but it beats the heck out of falling to the creek and those hungry crocodiles. I turn to praise Bo, see what's really helping me, and say, Ben. Present. Ben, travel back to the bunker. Stacy says, Ben. Then she passes out. I wonder what the hell it is this time, and loses the grip on my arm. I almost fall but barely grab the hell out of her arm. Even unconscious, she's being pulled up from the drop-off, so my situation can't be that bad. My head finally gets above the edge, and I can see what the hell scared her. I assumed it was Bo pulling her up, but he's nowhere to be found. We're being rescued by that big gorilla we saw earlier. Now I'm even more thankful I never shot at them. But how do you act when a gorilla, who from my vantage point looks like he's the size of King Kong, has just saved you? Since he's also holding on to one of my friends, I'm not sure what to do. Since my mother taught me to always be polite, when he gets me up to the top of the drop-off, I look at him and say, thank you. He grunts, pokes Stacy, who moans, then makes some motions with his hands. I figure out it's some sort of sign language, and he's worried about Stacy. I nod my head and slowly say, yes, I think she will be okay. She passes out whenever anything scares her, and I guess she wasn't expecting you. He looks like he's thinking, grunts a few more times, goes over to the edge of the drop-off, looks at the rhino and the alligators who are still fighting. It looks like the alligators are going to win. He then shocks me when he laughs, at least I think it's a laugh, beats the hell out of his chest, and flips off the rhino. Now that's a sign I do understand. I laugh too because I guess he and the rhino have some bad blood between them. He grunts, waves, and takes off into the brush. I shake my head and suddenly know this is going to make a hell of a bar story. But there's no way in hell anyone will ever believe me. I begin to reload the rifle when Stacy wakes up and screams, gorilla. Present. Stacy, travel back to the bunker. The last thing I remember is that nasty gorilla had a hold of my pants, and I guess I passed out. I wake up and warn Ben, gorilla. Ben smiles at me and says, yes, in Darrow there was a gorilla, and he saved both our butts. I don't understand Ben, so I warily sit up and ask, and who? Ben grins and explains, and Darrow was the name of the blonde that King Kong fell in love with. I think and answer, well, he's not big enough for King Kong, so shouldn't I be Jill Young? Ben laughs and insults me. Well, you're not as good looking as Charlize Theron. From my viewpoint, when I first saw him, he looked more like King Kong than Mighty Joe Young. I counter, what the hell? I look much better than that bitchy actress anyway. Ben's grinning, and I finally figure out he's been baiting me. I believe two can play this game, and I counter, well, you look older and paunchier than Bill Paxton. I can tell I finally got Ben when he replies, well, if I do, that's because taking care of you every time you pass out when you see anything unusual has made me that way. I smile at him and say, gotcha. Ben gets ready to answer. We hear a noise. Ben shoulders his rifle and points it at the noise. Present. Ben, travel back to the bunker. Shit. The rhino is in the creek, so what the hell is coming towards us now? You never know in this circus from hell, so I raise my rifle just in case. Then I hear Bo whinny as he and Patches walk through the bushes and toward us. I smile and comment, thanks for letting us know you were coming this time. Stacy interrupts and adds, and for not bringing along something like the rhino you brought last time. I continue, but where the hell did you go? Bo nods his head, but I don't understand. I decide it was easier talking to the gorilla. I ask, so where the hell is Knacker? Bo shakes his head, and I swear he looks just like a sad dog. I walk over, rub his neck, and he nuzzles me. Stacy asks, Ben, did you understand Bo? I reply, not as well as I did your gorilla because he knew some sort of sign language, but I'm pretty sure he said something bad happened to Knacker. Bo pulls away slightly, nods his head. I begin to comfort him, and Stacy replies, present. Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I can't believe it. I'm actually jealous of a horse. Ben treats that horse like I wish he'd treat me. I guess Ben forgot I was almost killed by that fat scumsucker, but I know a way to remind him. I answer, Ben, that's not my gorilla, and I think I need to change all these pads you have on me. Ben grimaces, but still hugs Bo, and says, Stacy, I'm not sure you really want to do that right now. It would be better if you could wait until we got back to the bunker. That comment makes me more determined than ever, so I demand, Ben, I don't know what you're afraid that I will see, but the pads are starting to stink, so they need to be changed. Ben foils my plan when he says, Stacy, all I have is a minimal medkit in my go pack. Without Bo's saddlebags, we don't have the supplies we need to change your dressings. I can't believe what happens next, and I begin to laugh. Present. Ben, travel back to the bunker. I sure as hell don't want Stacy looking at things until we are someplace safer, like the bunker if Guy hasn't taken it over, because she's probably going to pass out again. I no sooner mention Bo's saddlebags than he pulls away from me, grabs me by the collar, and begins to lead me away while Stacy begins to laugh. I explain to Bo, Listen, I'm the human and you're the horse, so I don't appreciate being lead around like you're the boss. If you want me to go somewhere, you damn hay burner, just lead the way and I will follow. When Beau's ears go back, Stacy continues to laugh and says, I'd be careful about getting him pissed off at you. Pissed off horses can be dangerous. That reminds me of what happened when I did get Beau pissed off, so I decided to change my tactics. I casually mention, Beau, I can walk much faster if you please let go of my collar. He lets go, moves ahead of us, and I make sure to drop a safe distance behind his hoofs of fury. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. My comment to Ben about a pissed-off horse had a remarkable effect. I wonder why, and we'll need to ask him about it later. Right now it's all I can do to concentrate on walking and blocking out the pain. Ben shouts, shoot. I duck and question, shoot what this time? Ben says, no, not shoot that way. Where the hell did you leave the revolver I gave you? I sure don't want to tell Ben the truth. I threw it at the rhino along with the pine cones. So I lie. I think I dropped it when I was running to save you from the rhino. Ben says, damn it, Stacy. You need to learn to hold on to your weapons. Do you remember where you dropped it? I should be upset at Ben, but he's probably right this time. I point in the general direction I tossed it and say, I think it's over there somewhere. Ben orders, okay, Beau, let's go see if we can find it. We walk over there, look all over hell, but never find it. Ben continues to scold. Stacy, how the hell could you be so negligent? This is just too much. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Shit. Stacy lost one of the Rugers. How could she lose another weapon when right now we are short as hell on weapons? We search everywhere for it, but can't find it, so I let my anger get the best of me and scold her. I completely forget she's been through her own hell. She collapses to the ground and begins to cry. I go over, sit beside her, hold her and apologize. Stacy, forgive me, but we really needed that revolver and now it's gone. She blubbers, BB Ben, I'm sorry, but I was so worried about you and the rhino. Now I feel like hell. She, and her gorilla, did save my butt. So I lie and say, well, I'm not sure what happened to it. Perhaps in all the excitement you dropped it over the edge of the drop-off. Anyway, it's gone, but it seems like Beau knows where his saddlebags are, so let's go find them. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Ben holding me feels so good I ignore the last half of his statement and wonder if he realizes that most of his compliments to me end with an insult. He helps me up and I continue to hold his hand. It feels really good. As we follow Beau. We've been walking for almost an hour without a break. Each step hurts a little more, so I ask, Ben, I don't want to complain, but I'm not sure how much more I can keep walking with this pain. Ben answers, Stacy, I don't know what the hell we can do. I don't think riding would be any better. I ask, could you carry me? He gives me a dirty look, gets ready to answer when all hell breaks loose. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. Well, this one wasn't as difficult for me to explain as it was going to be for the scumsucker president of that country. There was a huge explosion, so large at first we were sure they screwed up and detonated the warhead. But the equipment aboard the bird showed a radiation level which didn't indicate a nuclear blast. However, the area was going to be a hot zone for the next millennium. Seeing the SGTS Jeep leave made me sure they weren't responsible this time. This was a really good thing, otherwise I'd have to explain to the NRC how they rendered a good-sized portion of a foreign country uninhabitable. And the NRC was hell to deal with. With the warhead gone, I asked my techs, let's see if we can find the SGTS Jeep. They began the search. I decided to catch some shut-eye and went to my office. I no sooner fallen asleep than a tech came in and woke me up. I threatened, this had better be an emergency. He answered, sir, we found what's left of the SGTS Jeep. I jumped up and said, what the hell? I ran into a very somber control room and saw the image of their burning Jeep on the screen. Shit. I guess Sergeant Blaine's luck finally ran out and I needed to call the general. Flashback, Mira and Ira, undisclosed location. I caressed the ground and Ira yelled, Mira, I think the warhead the Israelis discovered was detonated. I was concerned because if she was accurate, we would be too close to the blast zone and any hope of having healthy children with my sergeant would be dashed. I crawled toward her motorcycle, acquired her Geiger counter, and was relieved when it showed an only and moderately increased radiation level. A level which might not hinder my future maternal hopes. I replied, Ira, the blast was not nuclear. However, we cannot remain in this vicinity for a great length of time. Ira rose and stated, Mira, perhaps we can use components from both decimated motorcycles to construct one functional motorcycle. We worked like Hades, used the back half of Ira's motorcycle, the front suspension of my motorcycle, a fender as a front wheel skid, and constructed a workable sand ski. We sped away from the site and I yelled to Ira, I will make those harlequins compensate for this. The sand ski lurched and deposited us on the firmament, after which Ira stated, Mira, first we must find a good location at which to receive additional commodities, then we will both make those harlequins compensate us. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. I drove the damn truck. Ben was still so pissed at me and depressed, he wouldn't even talk. I tried to start a conversation with, well, that explosion was sure a good one. Ben waved his hand. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I stated, not bad, hell. I thought you'd set off the warhead. Did you notify the major? Ben replied, screw you and double screw the major. I'm going to sleep. He curled up and went to sleep, which was fine with me. Perhaps he'd sleep it off and act better when he woke up. Yeah, Ben was pissed. Hey, it wasn't my fault. That damn sniper shot the engine in his GAZ. I kept driving it to escape, but finally it seized up. I was impressed as hell because I got another 10 clicks out of it before it died. Ben mourned over the damn GAZ while he barely noticed the departure of any of his ex-girlfriends, except for possibly the general's underage daughter. I could tell he still had the hots for her. I thought he was going to stay with the damn GAZ, sort of like being buried with it. Finally, he gritted his teeth and barked orders like a DI. We loaded all the gear into this truck. Ben actually kissed the GAZ on the hood and talked to it right before he threw a WP grenade into it and yelled, Jack, you're driving from now on. I had to admit, once I figured out how Ben motivated his GAZ, it was much more fun to drive than this lumbering truck. I wasn't sure we would be able to outrun any of the Lion of Babylon tanks in this slow piece of shit and wondered how we could continue our mission. Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I missed the hell out of my GAZ. I should have known better than to let Jack drive her. It was his fault she was killed, but now she was gone like all the other women in my life, and it was time to get the hell out of this desert and proceed to Russia. I hoped I could find another GAZ there to replace my dearly departed one. But I wasn't just upset about the GAZ, something else bothered me. It was that damn sniper I almost ran over. They were dressed all in black, even over their faces, had on a flowing black robe, but something looked familiar about there. But I yelled, son of a bitch. Jack swerved the truck and barked, you scared the hell out of me. I thought you were sleeping. I answered, no, I was thinking and didn't want to be bothered by your stupid comments. Jack snapped, well, if you're this crabby, I wish you would go to sleep. I said, Jack, forget about it. I figured out who those snipers are. Jack sarcastically asked, and just how the hell did you do that? They were totally covered in black. I blurted out, I recognized her, but... Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. What the hell has happened to Ben? Has he gone queer on me? I shout, what the hell do you mean? Don't tell me you're switching sides. Ben gave me a dirty look and explained, hell no, I'm not going queer. I recognized her, but... That was Mira shooting at you. I thought about his revelation and surmised. Then that had to be Ira that chased me on the motorcycle. Ben confirmed, yeah, that would have been Ira. I remembered my interactions with Mira at the spook school and worried, I bet what we did to them has both of them really pissed off at us. Ben said, Jack, we disabled both their motorcycles. We can't leave them alone in the desert to die. I argued, Ben, there's no way those two would ever die in a desert, and we're sure as hell not going back for them. Not until they calm down. Ben admitted, yeah, you're right. Now is probably not the best time to approach them. He slapped his head and yelled, shit, shit, shit. I questioned, what the hell is wrong now? Flashback, Ben, undisclosed location. I told Jack, I promised the major if we ever encountered Mira or Ira again, I would let him know ASAP. Jack exploded, you let the major talk you into a promise. What the hell was wrong with you? I countered, Jack, I figured it was safe because I didn't think we would ever see them again. He yelled, well, you were sure thinking out of your butt on that one. I hope you didn't promise him anything else. I lied, no, I can't think of anything else. He calmed some and began to ask, Ben, I don't suppose. I cut him off, Jack, you know better than to even ask that. Now where's the damn equipment? I need to send a report to the major. Jack teased, we'll tell him he can suck me. Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Damn it all. Ben and his damned sense for never breaking a promise. He needed to learn there were times to break your promises, and talking to the brass was certainly a good time to start. Not only that, he tried to lie to me. He had made the major more promises. I just hoped they weren't major promises. I thought to myself, there had to be a way to spin this around in our favor. Ben got ready to send the message and I cautioned, wait a minute and let's think about what you're going to say. Ben said, Jack, it's just the truth. How we destroyed the warhead and how Mira and Ira are after us. I grinned at him and asked, so how about if we change the way we say things but still tell the major about Mira and Ira? Would that satisfy your crazy compulsion for never breaking a promise? He looked at me, thought for a few seconds, then grinned and replied, Jack, all I promised to do was tell him if we even encountered Mira or Ira again. But I can tell from the look on your face you've come up with a plan. I nodded my head. I sure as hell did, and if it works right, it's adios to this desert. Ben grinned, and hello, Mother Russia. Flashback, Ira and Mira, undisclosed location. My sister Mira was finally properly motivated again. Her close encounter with death at the hands of the Harlequin had conveyed her rearward to her senses. We acquired a safe respite in a ravine and awaited an airdrop of much-needed commodities. The earliest delivery would not occur until this night. Mira traversed to and fro across the sand and complained, "Those Harlequins must be terminated at all costs." I remained on my posterior, joy-overed with her change in attitude, and questioned, "Mira, did the one Harlequin almost exterminate you?" My question added more than sufficient fuel to her antiquated Plymouth automobile fury, and she shouted, "I will dispatch those Harlequins to Hades." My sister Ira incorrectly assumed I was angry because of my proximity to death. Her assumption was more agreeable than the truth. I was still enraged because of my exposure to the radiation. When I have my SGTS progeny, I would like them to have only the appropriate number of appendages. I will make those Harlequins compensate for this. My only desire is that I might be able to observe their visages prior to terminating their miserable, minuscule lives. Flashback, Major M, Command and Control. I had decided to take this out of protocol message in private just in case my SGTS had somehow been responsible for destroying the warhead. At first I worried when I saw detailed close-up pictures of the warhead. Then I read the report and evaluated what the hell to do now. How fast can I do what is needed to be done, and just how much this really sucked? In fact, it sucked so bad I needed to talk with some friends of mine to see if there was some way to fix this major snafu. This was the last thing I needed. I replied, "Message received. Try to proceed to next viable target, and we will see about exfiltration." Flashback, Jack, undisclosed location. Once again I got Ben out of a jam. I came up with a hell of a story, so good I should write fiction for a living, for the Major. We told him that Mira and Ira set a trap at the warhead hoping to kill us. When the warhead was destroyed, we barely escaped, but might have a case of radiation poisoning, and that Mira and Ira have troops everywhere looking for us. I leaned back while Ben sent the message and dreamed of Russia, vodka, Russian women, more vodka, and more Russian women. I heard a beep. Ben smiled at the reply and stated, "Jack, that was one of your better lies, and I think the Major bought it." I asked, "So when are we getting the hell out of here?" Ben replied, "Well, Jack, that's still the big question. The Major ordered us to proceed to the next viable target, and that he will see about exfiltration." I saw Russia, the vodka, and especially the Russian women disappear and complained, "What the hell? With what we sent, he should get us out of here like yesterday." Ben got that scary look on his face and said, "I've been thinking about this, and I'm not sure I like the conclusion I've come up with. Let me run it by you and see what you think." He details his thoughts, and I swear, "You're right, or my name's not Jack. That scumsucker, if you don't kill him I will." Present, Tom, C-130 landed at DI. I feel great. Masha comes in, gives me something, in spite of that SIF's doctors fighting with her about it. And in 30 minutes I am fine other than being hungry as hell. She's observed me and hasn't dosed Maria yet. So I whisper, "How about you hold off about 10 minutes on giving this to Maria?" She surprises me when she loudly states, "Linus has been affected in a more severe manner, and if I do not arrive in time with the antidote he will expire." Maria begins to bawl, "Yes. Please save my Linus and tell him how sorry I am." Masha assures her, "I will endeavor to reach him in time, however it might already be too late." Present, Maria, C-130 landed at DI. I am devastated since my plan has really backfired. Somehow I have poisoned my Linus and Masha is telling me he may die a painful death. I know I feel so sick I would have to get well to die. I begin to cry, and as Tom and Masha leave I shout, "Please hurry and save my Linus." Present, Tom, C-130 landed at DI. As we hurry away, I ask a worried question, "Please tell me this won't kill her?" She smiles and replies, "No. However, she deserves to think she may die for taking the narcotic out of my purse. It will just make her extremely uncomfortable until I administer the antidote." She leaves and I consider extremely uncomfortable. Hell, I thought I was dying. But what the hell was Masha doing with something like that in her purse anyway? Present, Masha, C-130 landed at DI. I practice my calming ritual because I am furious at Maria for violating my purse and removing the tool. Yes, it is a tool we sometimes use to temporarily incapacitate an individual without causing death. There were times, especially with overly rude American women, it had been convenient. 2 drops in their drinks, and they must rush to the bathroom. Then while they were gone, a new drink and 2 drops of the antidote provided an immediate resolution. The antidote bottle I had unfortunately leaked. However, Miranda gladly supplied me with replacement antidote. But because of Maria's actions, once again I have been placed into the spotlight. I know I will have additional occurrences to explain in the future. I also need to keep my word. I discover in which hospital Linus is residing, and Byron has a taxi convey me there. Present, Jack, commercial flight landed at DI. I am shocked when Masha doesn't meet us at the main entry hall of DI. Thank God Ivan is distracted by all the multicolored paper airplane sculptures which hang from the ceiling, because I told him Masha would be here to meet us. He says, "Papa, I want." I smile, hug him and promise, "I will make you one later." I continue to scan the crowd for Masha. Then I notice a couple guys who look threatening and start moving away from them. I almost make it to the men's room when one of them steps in front of me and asks, "Jack Reynolds?" I sure as hell don't want to fight. Not with Ivan here, so I reply, "That would depend on who's doing the asking." He pulls out his badge and flashes it. I say, "Not so fast. I need to have a better look at that." He hands me his ID. I look it over and think, what the hell do they want with me? I answer, "Yes, I'm Jack Reynolds." He mumbles, "Please follow us." Well, thank God they didn't want to cuff me. We head out of the building, and Ivan says, "Papa, these bad men." I want to mutter, "Out of the mouth of babes," but wisely keep my mouth shut. Present. Liz, C-130 landed at DI. After I leave the two bitches with Byron, I head over to find Tom and Maria and see what the hell is going on. I'm surprised when I see Tom at his usual place, by the coffee pot sucking down go juice and eating pizza. I walk over and question, "Byron told me you were on death's door." Tom laughs. "I thought I was too, but Masha fixed me right up." I ask with surprise, "Masha? Not that Sif's doctors?" He takes another drink of coffee and replies, "Yeah, I guess it was some sort of practical joke stuff she had that caused gastritis. She gave me the antidote and now I'm fine. In fact, I think it cleaned me out some." Tom takes another drink of coffee as I ask, "What about Maria? Is she better too?" He starts to laugh, so hard coffee comes out his nose, and he chokes. I beat him on the back until he can finally talk and complain. "Damn it, Liz, you should know better than to ask a man a question when he has a mouthful of coffee." Masha was so pissed at Maria, she went off to heal Linus before she would give Maria the antidote. I interrogate Tom. "I heard it was your actions that incited this whole incident." He gives me an innocent look and says, "Liz, what the hell are you talking about?" I diplomatically remind him, "Tom, we both know you have a way of insulting women. Just look at the many times our paths have crossed. I heard you insulted Maria, and she tried to get even." He laughs, shakes his head, and answers, "Well, look who's laughing now." I begin to complain when Byron runs up and says, "It looks like all hell broke loose at the psych hospital." Tom drops his coffee cup and yells, "Damn it. I was worried Matt and Jim would go off half-cocked without Linus there to ride herd on them. Let's get our butts to that loony bin." We run out of the C-130, head to a car, and I ask Byron, "Where are the girls?" He looks at me and says, "Oh hell, I forgot about them." Tom questions, "Were those the two girls you brought from Suncrakistan?" I laugh and admit, "Yeah, I left them in Byron's care." Tom orders, "Byron, you lost them, so you need to find them." Byron questions the order, and I can tell they'd already given him some crap too. "Are you sure, Tom?" He says, "Hell yes. Now get out of the car, so we can rescue Jennifer." Present. Byron, C-130 landed at DI. Damn, where did those two girls go? I think they would be nice enough individually, especially the older one, but together they were a real problem. They immediately started whining at me and complaining about their husband Ben. When did he marry them, and does Jennifer know about this? The young one had a mouth worse than a sailor and asked, "Hey Papa Smuff, tell me where my husband Ben go, or I will bite your tool and feed it to you." The older one adds, well, she mostly made sense to the problem when she asked, "Grandpa, do not hear her. Tell me where husband mine go." I got the damn phone call about the psych hospital and ordered both of them. "Look, this is an emergency. Just follow me." I then head off to find Tom and assumed they were right behind me. In all the excitement, I forgot about them until Liz reminded me. Now I have to waste my time, which would be better spent at the psych hospital gleefully kicking Megan's rear. That thought makes me smile. Perhaps dealing with the two crazy girls isn't as bad as dealing with one crazy woman, especially with Tom along to stir things up. I know how he feels about Megan. I decide my job is the lesser of two evils and happily begin my search. I walk up to one of the men standing watch and ask, "Did you see the two girls?" He says, "Yeah, they were talking about something, but it was in some damn language I couldn't understand." I question, "Did you see where they went?" He shook his head. "No, I got distracted, turned around, and they were gone." I walk around, questioning everyone else, and get the same response. I try to put myself in their place. If I was a villager, and they were certainly both that, in America, where would I go? I begin to survey the area, and something catches my eye. I think for a moment, and, oh hell no. I sure hope they didn't go there. If they did, this is going to be worse than bad. Present. Jens, at the psych hospital. The orderly never gets enough nerve to try anything when Megan comes into my room and orders, "You can leave now. I need to talk to my patient." The minute he leaves, I swear, "Megan, you bitch. I know what you did." She smiles innocently and declares, "Jens, I don't know what you mean." I snap, like hell. "You set me up by giving me an amphetamine. Just what the hell did I ever do to you?" She yells in sudden fury. Did you forget about the time you broke my nose? I laugh at the revelation. Megan, you tried to kiss me, and that was ages ago. Her face takes on a whole new look. Well, if you like the amphetamine, you're going to really love this. She moves towards me with a syringe, and I squirm like hell and yell, help me. There is a crazy psycho bitch on the loose. Megan is right beside the bed, grins evilly and states, shout all you want. This is a psychiatric hospital, so the rooms are soundproof. I struggle like crazy. Megan is poking the hell out of my arm, but can't get the needle into my vein. She yells at me, stay still, and it won't hurt as much. I spit on her and argue. Like hell, I'm letting you give me any more injections. She stands up and threatens, have it your way, but it would have been much easier with the injection. I can't believe it when Megan takes my pillow and puts it over my face. I fight like crazy, but I can't breathe. My ears pound. I begin to see red, and then, present, Mira, at the fertility clinic. My mysterious benefactor treats me like a princess, and I am totally captivated and confused. Who is he? He arranges for a limousine to take Alexei and me to a fertility clinic. How did he surmise what I needed? As we leave the airport, the two annoying female children rush the limousine. The operator asks, should I stop? I reply, certainly not. Please vacate post-haste. As he accelerates in response, Alexei questions, Mira, what is the meaning of up yours crack hoe? I tousle his hair and reply, Alexei, you do not need to learn inappropriate words from those two suckas. He laughs at my reply and further remarks, my sister Mira, isn't sucka an inappropriate word? I giggle in response, why yes, my brilliant brother, I guess it is. But those two could force anyone to use inappropriate words. He nods his head in agreement. Yes, my sister, I have mentally applied much more inappropriate language in their description. I am joy-overed because we cogitate together in a manner reminiscent of the manner between Ira and me. We arrive at the clinic, are escorted in by the director and numerous staff as they request, might we have the cylinder so we can transfer its contents into our storage facilities? I question, first I need to determine the sum required for the procedures as I have a limited budget. The director assures me, Miss Sedankina, any and all expenses have already been taken care of. I probe, I would like the name of my benefactor. She smiles and responds, the account was paid with cash and all records are under your name. I am slightly frustrated, so I contend, what if additional funds are required? The director replies, I have a phone number to call in that event. And before you ask, I was told not to give you the phone number. Just be happy that you can have your babies without worrying about the expense, because many couples have to save for years or take out loans for these services. I am joy-overed, but also puzzled. I request, I would like to observe the transfer process. The director smiles at me. Of course you may observe. We were informed how important your semen specimen is since it cannot be replaced. When we are done, our doctors will need to do a medical history, a complete physical, and we will discuss when you need to start taking the required hormones to aid in conception. Alexei questions the director, may I also observe? I respond directly to him. You may observe the transfer and the post-inspection consultation. However, you may not observe the physical examination. He grimaces in theatrical pain. My sister Mira, that I would never want to observe. They take the blessed cylinder from me. We accompany it to their cryogenic facilities, and we observe the transfer. The director remarks, Ms. Sedankina, that is an extremely large sample. Do you know how that much semen was obtained? I reply, I'm sorry, my twin sister never revealed information regarding the sample procedure. She smiles and continues, well, there's certainly enough semen here that we could impregnate both of you. Her statement reminds me of my dream to have Ira and I carry my Ben's babies. I coolly inform her, my sister is deceased, so that is not feasible. I know the answer, but feign ignorance. But you are certain that there is quantity enough for multiple partners. She laughs. Mercy, yes. It only takes a small sample to fertilize the eggs. With the amount you supplied, you could have his babies until you couldn't have babies anymore, and still have some left. Have you thought about selling some of the semen? But if you did, we would of course need more information on the mystery donor. I can tell she's on an expedition hunting for fish and reply no. Any thought of commercialization of this treasure greatly troubles me. In fact, I will now require a precise accounting down to a minuscule amount of the male procreation component I have provided you. Any discrepancies, even the slightest amount, will infuriate me. Alexei warns, I assure you that behavior which will infuriate my sister is to be avoided. The director looks shocked at Alexei's accurate statement and replies, oh no, we would never do anything to anger you. I was just hoping that we could give other women, who aren't as lucky as you are to possess a large sample of semen, the possibility of having children. I state, it is unfortunate for those women. However, I cogitate the real reason behind your request is monetarily motivated. I was not birthed on a previous day in a barn and have educated myself on the intricacies of how operations like this function. You would purchase what you assumed would be excess male procreation component from my sample at a low price, then charge an exorbitant price to those unfortunate women. There will be no excess male procreation component available from my sample. The director looks stunned and says, "Don't tell me you are going to have that many babies." I smile at her and state, "Do not be feather-brained. I plan to execute O'Toole's axiom." She looks confused, so Alexi enlightens her. O'Toole's axiom is a paradoxical play on phrases. One child is never enough, but two is far too many. She questions, "You had me worried that you were going to have a whole football team of babies. But even if we have issues with your conceptions, you will still have semen left. What are your plans for the remainder?" I smile at her and inform, "That is my business, and you need to mind your own beehive construction component." I grow tired of this conversation. I am assured that my male procreation component is safe in your facilities, and you know my wishes of an accurate accounting concerning it. So we need to proceed with the rest of the procedures. As we walk away, I smile because my plans proceed perfectly. Present, Myra's mystery man. I smile at the pictures of my Tavarish exiting from my jet. She is much older now, but even more beautiful. Yet unlike many women, who gain weight and wrinkles when they age, she has just grown lovelier. I made sure certain things were removed from my jet before my Tavarish boarded, because she would have instantly known my identity, and I enjoyed this little game I was playing with her. I understand she's distracted by the excitement she feels about having Benny Blaine's babies. Otherwise, she would have determined who I was already. I receive a report from one of the fertility clinic staff. Money has a way of helping with things like this, about a discourse during which the director upset my Tavarish. I will need to send someone to deal with it. I call my aide and dictate, "Send someone to have a discussion with the fertility center director and tell her if she continues to agitate my Tavarish, she will suffer the consequences." He replies, "Yes, I will do that immediately." The head of security is here with a report on Ben Blaine. I smile as my plans are coming together perfectly and reply, "Send him right in." Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Stacy complains about the pain, but then asks me to carry her. There's no way in hell that's going to happen. Not in this circus from hell. Besides, I need both hands free because I never know what the hell is going to happen next. I give her a dirty look, get ready to explain this to her, when all hell breaks loose. A round zips past us, and I yell, "Get down." For being in so much pain, she sure doesn't waste any time making like a rug. I hear a couple more rounds, look over, and about laugh my butt off. Bo and Patches are trying to hide behind trees which are much too small, and their butts are sticking out. I yell, "Bo, unless you and Patches want to get shot in the butt, then vamoose until I figure out who's firing at us. I'll whistle when I need you." He neighs and they take off. For now the firing stops. Stacy crawls over beside me and asks, "Ben, did guy come back?" I shake my head and tell her, "Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker." I can't believe it. Someone is shooting at us and they are terrible shots. I worry and hope at first it's Guy because I want to torture him to death. I ask Ben about it and he shocks me when he says, "Not unless Guy has a .45 long Colt revolver like the Ruger you lost." Geez, can't Ben ever let that one little mistake rest? I am tired of hearing about it and say, "Look, Ben, I'm sorry. I never get to finish because a few more shots hit the dirt right in front of us." Ben says, "Screw this shit." He jumps up and runs toward the apparent location of the firearm. What's wrong with him? Has he gone totally crazy? I yell, "Ben, no." The shooting stops again, so I listen closely. I don't believe it. Ben's laughing. This I have to see, so I jump up and run toward Ben's laughter. I almost get to the clearing when Ben grabs me and pulls me behind a tree just as two more wild and crazy shots are fired. Ben says, "Well, I discovered what happened to your revolver." I ask him what happened to it. He says, "Peek around the tree and look in the clearing." I can't believe my eyes. Ben begins to laugh again, so I ask, "Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker." Stacy asks, "Ben, what the hell is so funny about his?" I wipe the tears from my eyes and tell her, "Stacy, this reminds me of a mission Jack and I were on in Africa. As we observed a terrorist camp, a chimp wandered in, picked up a loaded AK, and it promptly shot the hell out of the place. Then he raised the AK over his head when he was done." Stacy questions, "How did he figure out how to load the revolver?" I reply, "They are smart as hell, plus he probably watched some old Western movies. Besides, he's not really good at it. Look, he's doing it again." I chuckle as he opens the feed gate, tries to put a round in backwards, flips it around, puts it in the right way. He grabs two more and loads them. Then he closes the feed gate, cocks the hammer, pulls the trigger, and it goes click. He gets pissed, again, lets out some chimp grunts, cocks the hammer, pulls the trigger. This time it fires, and he jumps. I look at Stacy and ask, "I wonder what Samuel Colt would say about this." She questions, "What do you mean?" I reply, "Well, there's a famous old quote which many people wrongly attribute to him that goes, 'God made men, but Samuel Colt made them equal.' The damn chimp cocks the hammer, points it toward our tree, and I say, "Get down." We dive to the dirt as we hear a click and more grunts. Stacy replies, I bet he would now say, "This monkey is making a fool out of us. Why don't you just wait until he stops to reload, charge him, and take the revolver away from him?" I give her a dirty look and answer, "Because he would kick my butt. Do you realize how strong chimps are?" She doesn't answer, and I can't believe what she does. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. Well, if Ben's just going to sit here and do nothing, then I'm going to do something about it. I stand up, walk into the clearing, and demand, "Listen here. That's my gun, now give it to me." The chimp begins making chimp noises, then I realize what I did might be a mistake. It points the gun at me, smiles, cocks the hammer. Just in time, Ben runs out, grabs me, and throws me to the ground as the chimp pulls the trigger. Of course, the gun goes off, just missing me. Then I hear a roar behind me. The chimp lets out a chimp scream, throws the revolver at whatever it is, and takes off running. I turn to see what the hell has scared off the chimp with the gun. I take one look at it, and things go dark. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Damn it all. That's the last time I'm saving Stacy. The bullet missed her and grazed my arm. At least this time it's only a flesh wound. And to top it all off, she passed out again when her gorilla came and chased off the crazy chimp with her revolver. I stand up as the gorilla walks up to me, hands me the revolver, and I say, "Thanks." Then put it in my holster. He points to Stacy, does some sign language crap, which I don't understand, and grunts. I begin patching up my arm and answer, "I really don't understand your sign language, but she's going to be all right." He walks over, points to a bloody spot on her back, and I understand he's worried about her. I reply, "Let me finish my arm, then we will look at her." He sits right beside her and holds her hand. When I finish my arm, I walk over with the medkit and say, "Yeah, the spot on her back broke open again with all the stuff she's gone through." I take her shirt off, take the bloody bandage off, and I begin to clean it up. The gorilla points and I answer, "Yes, she was taken by a bad man, and he did this and worse things to her. I'm just thankful she's out of it, so she doesn't feel the pain or know what he did." I finish cleaning her up and put on a new bandage. I want to check all her pads, but don't feel that comfortable with the gorilla here, so I decide they can wait until we get to the bunker. I look at how he's taking care of Stacy and get a hell of an idea. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I guess Ben did decide to carry me, and we're moving really fast, but he sort of stinks. I open my eyes and oh no, it's the damn gorilla that's carrying me. I begin to shout, "Ben, help me, the gorilla is kidnapping me." The gorilla stops and very gently sets me down. Ben rides to me on Bo and exclaims, "Stacy, stop yelling, you're scaring your gorilla and hurting my ears." When the gorilla puts his hands over his ears, Ben laughs and continues, "Oh, and you're also hurting your gorilla's ears too." I step away from the scary gorilla, towards Ben, then I'm amazed when the gorilla does sign language, and I recognize it. This is one smart gorilla. I sign and say, "Sorry for thinking you were like the bad man that hurt me. Wait, how did you know about him?" He signs and I begin to laugh. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. Oh great, this is all we need. Stacy can sign to the gorilla. I should have known. Those two carry on a conversation, and she begins to laugh, so I question, "What's so funny?" Stacy grins at me. "He called you my pet, and said I did a very good job training you, because you saved me from getting hurt by the little monkey with the bang stick." I complain, "What the hell? I'm not your pet." She's watching him sign and shushes me. "Wait, my pet. He's telling me something I don't understand." Her pet my butt. If that damn stupid ape didn't outweigh me by a couple 100 pounds, I'd kick its monkey, but until it was the color of a baboon's butt. She turns, gives me an angry as hell looks and shouts, "What the hell is wrong with my back?" George says I have many bad cuts on it like letters on a sign. Her yelling gets the damn gorilla upset. I scoot Bo a little further away and reply, "Who the hell is George?" She stamps her foot. The damn gorilla is getting really pissed off, so I put my hand on my revolver and answers, "The gorilla is named George. Now tell me about my back." I counter, "Stacy, not until you settle down. You're getting angry, has your damn gorilla all upset too, and he's a real danger when he's upset." She turns and signs to the gorilla, and then says, "I told him not to hurt you. Now tell me about my damn back. Did that fat scumsucker guy do something to it?" I make sure my revolver is ready when I answer, "Stacy, I wanted to tell you this in a better way at a better time, but guy branded your back." She gets a shocked look on her face and shouts, "He did what?" I elaborate, "Well, it looks like he took a hot wire and branded his name into your back." She shouts louder, "The scumsucker did what? I want to see it." She begins swearing and twisting around, like a bitch chasing its tail. She finally lets out a big sigh and passes out. The gorilla catches here right before she hits the ground. I look at the gorilla, shake my head and say, "Women, can't live with them, can't trade them for a good dog." He grunts like he understands what I said, and we head toward the bunker in peace. Present, Stacy, travel back to the bunker. I wake up screaming. Ben rushes right to my side and says, Stacy, it's okay, we're back in the bunker. I cry. Ben, I can't believe what that scumsucker did to me. He questions, Stacy, you remember? I nod my head. Yes, Ben, I remember everything. It was terrible. He was a terrible animal. Oh, why did I trust him and let him go? Ben just holds me. I look around and realize we're in the bunker and ask, how did we get here? Ben pulls away and replies, you passed out and your gorilla carried you here. I question, where is George? I want to thank him. Ben smiles and explains, near as I could figure out. He called the bunker a cage and wouldn't come in. I guess it's something about being locked up. I continue in patches. Ben smiles again. She and Bo are in the stables eating and resting. And before you ask, I did brush both of them. I wonder, what about Knacker? For a second, I see concern flash across Ben's face. Then he hides it with a sad smile and replies, Knacker didn't make it. Something got a hold of him. But I think his death was quick, which is about all any of us can hope for. I really hate it when Ben gets in these morose death wish moods, but I'm in no mood to try to cheer him up since I have issues of my own. I announce, I think I'm going to shower. A faint grimace passes across Ben's face, which he covers with a fake smile, and says, Stacy, just remember you're a survivor, and we will find the scumsucker, and you will get your revenge. Yeah, Ben's really into his death wish mode. I head off to the shower to see what's on my back. Present, Ben, travel back to the bunker. As Stacy leaves, I shake my head and walk to take a look at the weapons locker. I'm sure glad she didn't see Knacker since it wasn't a lion that got him. It was something bigger and had ripped the hell out of him and eaten about a fourth of him. We were relatively safe in the bunker. Except for the fact that fat scumsucker dope smoking guy had a set of keys, we're a lot better off. I didn't feel comfortable with us staying here for a very long period of time. But then there was still something damn big out there to deal with. With the 300 Win mag gone, I need something big to kill something big. I start looking over the many weapons when my eyes see a box of ammo. Now that would be perfect, but where the hell is the rifle for those rounds? I mean, you wouldn't have a whole box of this ammo without a rifle to fire it in. I pull out a cartridge and roll it between my fingers. It's massive. I try once again to get into the head of John, the man that built this fortress, because somewhere in here there has to be a rifle for this round. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.